Yeah. August 12th, 2025, regular city council meeting of the East Lansing City Council. Could we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Altman,
Here.
Councilmember Meadows,
Here.
Councilmember Watson,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Singh,
Here.
Mayor Brookover.
Here. Could we have a motion relative to the agenda, please?
Move approval.
Councilman Altman moves approval. Councilperson Meadows seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 1.3, approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting of July 15th, 2025. Do we have a motion with regard to the minutes?
Move approval.
Dr. Altman moves approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Watson. All those in favor say aye.
Mayor, I've got one correction.
Okay, proceed. please.
Page 4, Speaker, near the top, Speaker Amy Nuttall. Her last name is spelled Nuttall.
Okay, so your motion goes to the minutes as amended? Yes?
Correct.
Okay. All those in favor of the minutes as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Segment number 2, communications. 2.1, all written communications received by council are posted on the online agenda packet. Item 2.2, communications from the audience. Dr. Edsel.
Good evening. I'm here to comment about, I think it's item 6.4, the changes to the police oversight ordinance. A quick history. Prior to the establishment of the Independent Police Oversight Commission, complaints were handled within the police department with absolutely no involvement of the community. The outcome, almost always exonerated or not sustained, was then read in a report to the Human Rights Commission. To develop the original ordinance and inaugural commission, a group of community members and experts were impaneled and spent a year before the final product, Ordinance 1503, was written and passed by council. During this time, the non-supervisory police officer union brought forth a contract that, 1, demonstrated their detestation of accountability and transparency, and 2, attempted to, via their CBA powers, undo any attempt by this community, who pay their salaries, to hold them accountable. The city chose to go to arbitration over this portion of the contract, and in September of 2024, the ALJ rendered his decision to dividing the proposed non-supervisory police officers' contract language into that which was negotiable and that which was not. Prior to the ALJ's findings, the city's labor attorney convinced the city manager and council that the ordinance should be changed to make clear that the commission did not have any disciplinary powers. The ordinance was changed by vote of the council to include several references to the commission not having disciplinary powers. Following the Merck, which I will are also negotiable. Following the Merck decision, Michigan Employment Relations Commission, a tentative agreement was negotiated between the non-supervisory police officer union and the city, and it can be shown that all negotiable items including discipline, were negotiated away by the city and this council in a TA dated March 20th, 2025. Shortly after, the commission received a memo from City Attorney Ann Gabbert, which I will paraphrase as saying that even asking what policy was violated or stating that the commission disagreed with the outcome of a complaint investigation and felt it was in violation of a specific policy was in fact crossing over into discipline, and the commission needed to refrain from this practice. The commission was told that it could not ask for nor receive previous complaint history or outcome from officers covered by the CBA. As part of the CBA, the union added that a complaint made must affect a member of the general public. This was added specifically because LAPOC filed a complaint when the commission viewed body-worn camera footage of a white officer insulting a BIPOC officer based on the latter's country/language of origin. While the complaint was sustained, found to be true, the involved officer was livid and called the commission cop haters. The current chief repeated this disparagement at an ensuing commission meeting. This amendment was added and accepted by this council, prohibiting the commission from calling out inappropriate behavior of one officer toward another. Taking a step further, if the commission were to observe one officer assaulting another officer, we would not be able to file a complaint. This change is seen in the proposed ordinance under Section 2-473 definitions. The CBA goes on to reiterate that the already conceded disciplinary and supervisory powers, but does not define discipline to include asking for violated policy nor asking that policy violation be found. Here I would insert that if one of my children did something untoward to another of my children, for example, called them a name, that would constitute a policy violation. The consequence I dole out, whether it be a timeout or a loss of screen time, is the discipline. For this reason, many of the commissioners are struggling with this memo and its implication for making recommendations on what will now be stale investigations. Next, the CBA directly links the two sections, Article 26.2, Complaint Review, and Article 26.3, Confidentiality, with the statement, the parties recognize the oversight body must receive information regarding employees by the agreement in performing complaint review process. Contemplated in Article 26.2, subsection B under this article, which again refers to 26.2 complaints, states that the oversight body and its members shall not publicly discuss, publish, release, or divulge the names or identities of officers covered by this agreement. The CBA goes on to prohibit the Commission from having any information regarding prior complaints, confidential information, or city or police department from divulging any information concerning employees covered by this agreement. Again, these clauses are within Article 26.3, which specifically refers to the complaint process, not use of force, individuals, or crisis, which are not once mentioned in the CBA. Lastly, the CBA prohibits the Commission from compelling a member of the union from appearing before the Commission. At issue is the proposed ordinance, which goes far beyond what was negotiated. Under the definition of confidential information, the original ordinance prevented the withholding of confidential information. It was a permissible exemption, not a mandatory exemption under FOIA law. This has all been removed and replaced with exempted information, which can excluded by a CBA
30 seconds remaining.
or well as a recognized privilege. This term is clearly cop lawyer speak for you will not be getting anything you request. The ordinance goes on further to remove any hint of investigatory powers of the Commission even following a completed complaint, a use of force incident in relation to the department's early warning system, or regarding an incident in crisis reports. Again, this is not in the CBA anywhere. Work previously done by the Commission that would be impacted by these changes but not limited to the following. A complaint by an unhoused transgender person was investigated by a current supervisor or officer. In the investigation report, the investigator referred to the complainant by her dead name and called her he or he/she throughout the report. Because the commissioner could not determine the gender to use in the commission's report, they called the complainant social worker. Because a commissioner could not determine the gender to use in the response, they called the complainant social worker and quickly determined the individual's gender identity. When this was discussed at the commission table, the investigator stated they could not get a hold of the complainant and determine their gender, and was visibly angry when the commissioner had very quickly gathered that information. Prohibiting any investigation by the commission would prevent the commission from gathering pertinent facts. Several times the commission has requested body-worn camera footage for use of force incidents. We have witnessed a 15-year-old waiting for a ride and unable to provide identification be thrown to the ground and handcuffed. We've also witnessed a man in McDonald's eating a breakfast sandwich which asked to leave, and as he did, he was thrown to the ground and tased by an ELPD officer. These are only two examples of use of force investigations that would be prevented by the ordinance as written. Nowhere in the CBA does it specifically prohibit investigations. As an aside, these two incidences involve subjects who are black. By the department's own report, in 2024, force was used on 80 black individuals and 82 white individuals. Unchanged in the ordinance purposes is that the Commission will give priority to addressing racial inequities as well as use of force in making recommendations. Without investigative powers, including reviewing body-worn camera footage, interviewing subjects, and asking questions, it will be impossible to accomplish the purpose of this Commission. I have more. I will stop there, even though you didn't stop me. Or do you want me to continue?
Doctor, if you have something written, it might be more effective to present it to us so we can read it. We have
can do
other
that.
people that want to talk, but
No, I want to talk because I want to make sure it gets read and heard.
okay, thank you for your input. Ms. Root.
My name is Christine Root. I'm a member of the Independent Police Oversight Commission. I'm speaking for myself about amendments to Ordinance 1533. The Commission has not yet prepared a response to all of the proposed amendments. I want to share a few thoughts now before the meeting where you will be taking votes. Amendments are proposed to 18 of the 35 sections of the ordinance. 9 sections are completely deleted. Some of these amendments would significantly weaken the Commission's access to information and its ability to take independent action. The memo on tonight's agenda states The proposed ordinance revisions are required by the collective bargaining agreement by and between the City of East Lansing and the Capital City Labor Program non-supervisory patrol officers. Some of these amendments are indeed required by the collective bargaining agreement, or CBA. But as I read the amendments, this statement is not true about all of them. As a start to your considering of the amendments, please ask the lawyers who drafted the amendments to quote the relevant part of the CBA that requires each specific change. The Commission also needs this information before a special meeting it will hold about the proposed amendments. If the Council decides to adopt any amendments that are not absolutely required by the CBA, I hope each of them will be aimed at enhancing the effectiveness of police oversight in East Lansing, not damaging it. The National Association for Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement, or NACOL, of which LEPOC is a member, has developed 13 principles for effective oversight that I suggest you use as a guide for amending the ordinance. The Commission has been living with the impact of the CBA already for 3 months. We received a memo on May 1 from the attorneys who drafted the amendments that contained some statements that frankly shocked us, asserting that changes would go into effect that we believe are unconnected to the contract. We have yet to hear from the attorneys or any city employee any legal explanation of why these changes are required by the CBA. The Commission adopted motions in July and August that explain our understanding of how changes to ELPD reporting to the Commission are not required by the CBA. The first motion concerns the Commission no longer receiving any information at all about complaints when they are received. The second motion concerns names of officers and their gender and race being removed from reports on response to resistance and encounters with individuals in crisis. The section of the union contract about the Commission is specifically about the complaint review process by the Commission. These two reports are not mentioned in the contract and do not involve complaint review. I want to focus on one issue in particular, which is LEPOC's access to information. I believe amendments on this topic have no relationship to the CBA and will really be damaging to the Commission's effectiveness. Section 2-490C of the ordinance, in subsections B, C, and D, defines what information can be withheld from the Commission. These subsections, which are all deleted, are some of the most important in the entire ordinance. Briefly, these sections state that the city can withhold information if its disclosure, quote, is prohibited by statute, and also that, quote, the city will not rely on any of the discretionary exemptions listed in the Freedom of Information Act and will provide all information subject to a discretionary exemption unless there is a compelling reason for disclosure. Also, I'll skip that quote, the current language about redactions in Section 2-490A states that the police department may redact information, quote, that the department cannot by law release or the department can demonstrate a compelling reason not to release. The amendment deletes this language. It replaces it with this much weaker provision. The department may redact, quote, information the police department or other department believes should be kept confidential without any standards or guidelines for that belief. All of those are deleted. In Section 2-490C, an amendment lengthens the time for providing information to the Commission from 21 days to 30 days. 30 days is a huge change, and it's also way beyond the state FOIA law, which is just 21 days, 15 business days, excuse me. There's no reason given for this, either related to the CBA or anything else. Because the Commission meets only monthly, allowing 30 days for obtaining information means it is very unlikely that the Commission can discuss new information at its next meeting. So the Commission won't be able to respond until 2 months after making a request. This is way too long. I would argue that oversight delayed is oversight denied. The Commission will be rightly seen by the community as ineffective if its response to a concern raised from the community or by members of the Commission takes 2 months. So these are examples of changes which are in the amendments that I think will really harm the Commission that the City Council stood up and has continued to appoint citizens to serve on. I hope you will share information about these amendments and listen carefully to the experiences and reactions to amendments to this ordinance from the Independent Police Oversight Commission based on its experience. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Mr. Cote, I assume you want to speak during the public hearing? Okay. Matt Levitt?
Good evening, Matt Levitt with Meyer. I just wanted to let the council know that I'm here, and when the Meyer Express comes up, if there are any questions, I'm happy to help.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Gillespie?
Same thing here, Pat Gillespie. If there's any questions that come up, here to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe David?
Hello and good evening.
Hi.
I'm back again in regards to the Landshark Bar and Grill's request for occupancy. I just wanted to provide a quick update today on some things that have occurred since the last meeting. On August 25th, we're going to install a new 56-inch wide door on the Grand River entrance. That is a voluntary measure that's not required for the current occupancy request. I just felt that it was important to do now to address better safety. In order to further improve egress on the back staircase heading to Abbott, which is near our stage, we've built up a corridor on the stage so that patrons who are on the dance floor or who are seated or in the kitchen, our employees can now, there's a lighted exit sign at the stage. They can now exit through this corridor to the staircase where there is another exit sign, emergency lights, and on both egresses, when you get outside, we've now installed emergency lights on the exterior as well. Lastly, we recently updated the entire bar for electrical needs. No more extension cords. It now matches our current needs. And in doing that, we also installed a CO2 monitor, continuous CO2 monitors to improve the safety. So I just wanted to bring all these, this is in the last 30 days. I just wanted to bring this to council's attention, and I can answer any questions whenever council may need some answered.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, moving ahead, communications from council members. Dr. Altman,
Thank you, Mayor. No report tonight.
Mr. Meadows.
Just a couple of things. One, many of you out there have received in the mail or via email, I guess, also, this application or application for to receive part of the settlement dollars related to the franchise fee. It's very important that you fill this out. I know that in the past we've had individuals contact me and other council members wondering whether this was some kind of scam and that they'd be revealing information that could be used to damage them. This is the real deal. Please fill it out and please send it in. It should be simple. If you receive this in the mail like I did, even though we are prohibited from receiving any of this money, you may ask yourself, well, if they know where I'm at, they know how much I paid, so why do I have to do this? It's a requirement of the court that you fill this out in order to get your money, such as it may be, back. So please fill this out. And then, in case anyone missed it, we are still being honored by the president as one of the sanctuary cities he is targeting throughout the country. Be aware that we don't plan on changing any of our policies with regard to this. I don't know what exactly he's going to do. I'll quote the Attorney General: "Sanctuary policies impede law enforcement and put American citizens at risk by design." Completely false. The Department of Justice will continue bringing litigation against sanctuary jurisdictions and work closely with the Department of Homeland Security to eradicate these harmful policies around the country. So we should expect something to come our way, and we will defend it at that point in time. That's all I have.
Councilmember Watson.
No, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
No, thank you.
I don't have anything. City manager report.
A couple items. First, the city earned the Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for the 41st year in a row. So congrats to the finance team for all of the hard work in meeting those standards and making sure that we're sharing financial information relevant to our residents and taxpayers. The second item, as you know, traffic concerns have been top priority in the community. We've created a spreadsheet. It is located on the website under my department. It is being updated regularly, so if residents want to see the progress we're making on addressing school crossings, crossing guards, stop signs, and other traffic control devices, it is on that spreadsheet. It is a very comprehensive request. We did engage Fishbeck's traffic engineers to aid us in it, to ensure that we're taking not only the look at the request, but the neighboring neighborhoods to make sure that we're not driving the problem to the next neighborhood. So be patient. We are doing what we can. If you have new information you want to add to that, please send it to us. If it's just inquiring where we're at, we ask that you be conscious of our efforts to try to address those concerns and invest time in that direction. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. City Attorney report, anything?
Nothing to report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jopik. Item 3.1, presentation on the Parks and Recreation Millage. Mr. Belleman?
Yes. So I put together a brief PowerPoint just to update the City Council as well as our residents about the 2025 Parks and Recreation Millage information. So as part of the FY26 General Fund Budget Deficit Reduction Plan, the City Council at your June 17th regular session approved a proposed amendment to the city charter for voters to consider on the November 4th ballot and directed the city attorney to submit a proposed amendment to the Attorney General for their review on behalf of the governor. Next slide. On July 31st, the city was officially notified that Governor Whitmer, pursuant to the Home Rule City Act, approved the proposed charter amendment be submitted to the voters at the November 4th election. Next slide. The ballot question, which is proposed East Lansing City Charter Amendment to allow a dedicated Parks and Recreation millage not to exceed 2 mils, is the question that will be presented on the November 4th ballot. Why a charter amendment? No state law permits the city to levy a millage dedicated for parks and recreation and arts outside of its charter limits. Next slide. We are trying to get information out, factual information out to our residents and voters. The first one was this piece that was published or will be published in the Connect. It's, again, to share factual information about the ballot issue, to levy a dedicated 2 mil to support parks and recreation, arts, operation, and maintenance. There's a QR code that is in the Connect magazine and will be in other material that will take you directly to the city's website. Next slide, if you would. So on our website, at the various information is to the left, provides additional information regarding the Parks, Recreation, and Arts services and programs, what the 2 mils will generate, and attempts to answer frequently asked questions. It also provides that the average taxable value, not market value, in the city of East Lansing is $113,668. Based on that, a 2 mil levy estimated annual cost would be $227.34, or about $18.94 per month. Next slide. The same information can be found on the Parks and Recreation and Arts page on the city's website. And then the final slide here is just a sample of when you go to those locations, the additional information that is provided. It goes into great detail. And some of the frequently asked questions include, what would this millage provide if approved by voters in November? Don't we all already have a Parks and Recreation millage? How would this millage impact the Hannah Community Center? and how do I look up my home's taxable value? Those are some of the frequently asked questions that we tried to provide information to inform our voters when they go to the ballot in November.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. Item, could
Can I
we,
ask a question on that? Just,
Please.
Briefly. I note that when we make reference to Section 10.5, we really only refer to the 13 mills permitted in a parentheses. And this request to the public talks about specifically about raising it to 15 mills permitted under that particular section. But the calculation on it really relates to this language. The levy shall not exceed 1 3/10% of the assessed valuation. Shouldn't our information provided to the public address that particular number? And I'm asking this of the city attorney.
Well, the information that is provided is intended to be general information, somewhat put into lay terms that can be understood by the public so that they have the information they need. I think the exact, if I'm not mistaken, at least some of the information that is being provided contains the exact language that is going to be shown on the ballot, which does include that indication on there. So if there's any discrepancy between exact terminology, I think, I know that the ballot language that's on the public information would be what would govern. Again, the idea here is to inform the public in general lay terms that are easier to understand, perhaps. I don't think there is anything misleading in the information. We can certainly take another look at it and make adjustments as we go if necessary. But at this point, I don't see any misrepresentations in there that lead anybody astray.
I wasn't looking for a misrepresentation, but an addition. But I'll just note that the ballot language does not make any reference to the percentage limitation of that is set forth in 10.5.
Okay, yes, fair enough.
okay, are we done?
That's it. That's all I had.
Consent agenda. Mr. Bellman?
Consent agenda 4.1, approve a contract with Sinclair Recreation for $54,412.47 to purchase and install replacement playground equipment in Tamarisk Park. Approve a projected contingency or project contingency of $5,400. Authorize city manager to sign and approve related budget amendments. 4.2 is approve a third amendment to the lease agreement with Margaret F. Metzger, Kristen E. Metzger, and Fabian Enterprises, LLC, for a portion of the Bailey Street parking lot, and authorize city manager to sign. 4.3 is approve a contract with NTH Consultants Limited for as-needed material testing services in an amount not to exceed $90,000, and authorize city manager to sign. 4.4 is approve a resolution for opioid litigation settlements with Purdue, Sackler, Sandoz, Inc., Alvogen, Amneal Pharmaceutical, Amtech, Inc., Hikma Pharmaceuticals, Indivior, Inc., Mylan Pharmaceuticals, Sun Pharmaceuticals, and Zydus Pharmaceuticals, Inc., authorize execution and filing of participation forms, settlement agreements, and bankruptcy plan for the Purdue, and amend the fiscal year 2026 budget to reflect the receipt of these settlement payments. 4.5 is approve the designation of Jennifer Lacoste, Deputy Parking Administrator, and Annette Irwin, Director of Planning, Building, and Housing, as alternates to Caleb Sherrow, Parking Administrator on the University Place Condominium Association, the Albert Place Condominium Association, and the Albert Tower Condominium Association boards. 4.6 is approve a conditional Class 3 rental license for an occupancy of up to 2 unrelated persons or a family at 1953 North Harrison Road. The owner of record is Min Pai Yan Hikma, and Taupai DeWitt. 4.7 is approve a change order with ENG Inc. for the fiscal year 2023 local utility improvements, White Hills, King, and Berkshire project in an amount of $13,100, including a 15% contingency, and authorize city manager to sign. 4.8 is approve minor amendments to the City of East Lansing's Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Program Citizens Participation Plan. 4.9 is approve the designation of Landon Bartley, AICP, Principal Planner, as the City of East Lansing's second representative to the Capital Area Regional Transportation Study, CARTS Committee, with Grace Whitney, Associate Planner, as an alternate. 4.10 is approve a substantial amendment to the City of East Lansing's Community Development Block Grant, CDBG program, to reallocate $197,530 from the City of East Lansing's Homeowners Rehabilitation Program to the City of East Lansing's Northern Tier Trail Extension Project, $118,765, and the City of East Lansing CDBG Sidewalk Project, $78,765. 4.11, approve a contract with Superior Electric of Lansing, Inc. in the amount of $26,800 with an additional 10% contingency for a total authorized amount not to exceed $29,480, and authorize city manager to sign. 4.12 is approve a parking agreement with Local Development Finance Authority to offset costs related to parking for tenants of the Technology and Innovation Center, TIC, and authorize city manager to sign. 4.13 is approve fiscal year 26 budget amendment for jail officers. 4.14 is approve a budget amendment for traffic safety technology. And 4.15 is approve Transportation Commission administrative rules.
May we have a motion? Altman moves approval of the consent agenda. Do we have a second? I second it.
I have a question.
Please.
Regarding the item for the jail officers, how many hours is each part-time jail officer putting in right now?
I will have to double check on the number of hours, but they don't exceed the number of hours that would be required to provide benefits to those two employees.
Say that last part again.
So part-time is they work under a certain amount of hours so that the city doesn't pay benefits to those two individuals. And again, those two part-time positions are currently open.
And if you make it full-time, is the full-time person gonna be required to work overtime because there's only one and not two part-time?
Right now, we're trying to reduce the amount of overtime across the entire department, including the jail. And so, again, based on what we've found in the past, it would help to reduce the number of overtime hours that we're working.
But it sounds like we don't know for sure right now.
We've never had a full-time
Jail
jail.
officer.
Yeah,
Right.
we've been relying on our officers for overtime, as you're aware.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion on the consent agenda passes unanimously. We now turn to item 5.1, a public hearing to receive comments for a request from Graduate East Lansing, Mr. Lee Cote, for approval of a special use permit located at 133 Evergreen Avenue. The applicant request is to add a private dining area and expand the rooftop deck with alcohol service. Mechanical rooftop screening is also proposed. The property is zoned B3 City Center. Staff, please.
Good evening, Alicia Wrighton, Planning Department. The Graduate Hotel is requesting an increase in occupancy for its rooftop restaurant, the Rock Bar. The original special use approval was for no less than 96 seats for diners for the rooftop restaurant. Seasonal seating for up to 48 was permitted for the outside, but that seating may not increase the total occupancy. Based on the existing plan provided and counting the seats specifically shown, the plan provides for 75 seats between the bar and the outside deck, which leaves 21 people for a standing room and a total of the 96. So that's the original special use. The current proposal for the 10th floor is to increase occupancy from the 96 to 268, which is an increase of 172. The proposal shows 78 seats and 16 standing room in the bar, which equals 94 occupants for the bar area. The deck proposal shows 83 seats and 71 standing room, which equals 154 occupants. The proposal also includes modification of an existing guest room for the creation of a private dining area, which shows 12 seats and 8 standing room, which equals 20 occupants. The total of those comes to the 268. The applicant provides that the rooftop deck will allow for special events, and when a special event is proposed, they will reserve meeting space on the second floor in case of inclement weather. The applicant has also provided that when an event is booked, there is a private corridor that guests will use to enter and exit the rooftop deck. At the July 9th Planning Commission meeting, no public comments were received, but the Planning Commission did vote unanimously to recommend approval of the special use with conditions. And on July 24th, the DDA recommended approval of the special use permit. The applicant is here to answer any questions, and I am available for any as well.
Okay, questions for staff? Dr. Altman. Your mic's off. Button, man.
It's the thing that makes it go green. In the analysis of the special use permit requirements, there's a comment concerning paragraph 4, which says the proposed use shall not adversely affect the use and enjoyment of adjacent properties. And the staff comment is the proposed increase in occupancy for alcohol service will likely impact the enjoyment of adjacent properties. Could you elaborate on that?
Well, it's a substantial increase to the existing occupancy and a lot of standing room. So there's potential for outside noise that didn't exist previously for that 154 that are standing outside. And also the parking might be even a bigger issue. I neglected to note that the applicant did submit an application yesterday for valet parking that'll come to a future meeting.
Okay. And then, if I could, a second question is concerning the screening of the mechanical equipment on the top of the building. That's required under our ordinance in any case, correct?
Correct. It's not part of the special use. They just included it as part of the application.
So whatever happens to the special use permit, we can expect that that will go ahead?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions for staff? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Forgive me just because I'm having some technical issues. Can you remind me what the square footage add is to the new space? I was recently up there and it looked equal size, and that's why I was thinking through the occupancy. Look at, you got this on the top of your tongue, don't you?
Not the exact,
Oh,
but it's about equal.
It is equal.
Size outside, and then you're doing the private dining room, so that's expanding on top of that.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for staff? I then open the public hearing to receive comments on a request from Graduate East Lansing for approval of a special use permit located at 133 Evergreen Avenue. The applicant request is to add a private dining area and expand the rooftop deck with alcohol service. Mechanical rooftop screening is also proposed. The property is zoned B3 City Center Commercial. Mr. Corso. Mr. Corso, do you want to speak at the public hearing?
Cody, sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's all good. Yeah, so, excited to be here. Thank you guys so much for having us and for taking another look at this proposed finish to the existing rooftop patio and then the private dining room upstairs. For any of you that have been up to the Rock Bar, what we see as an elite asset to the community, overlooking campus, beautiful place to host a private event, showcase our city. And at this time, with the Rock Bar operating at its current occupancy and at the levels that we see day in, day out, it's very challenging for us to meet the community or visitors' needs when it comes to private events. We get those phone calls 2 or 3 times a week in our sales department to have somebody come up to showcase a potential group that may be visiting the East Lansing area, or a distinguished alumni, or a traveling professor that they want to kind of present the school, present the community, and showcase an elite experience. And hosting private events upstairs at this point, with the current occupancy and the structure of that operation up there, is not really something that's feasible. So expanding the rooftop, one, will allow us to lean into that view, what we see as the best view in downtown East Lansing overlooking campus. Plans to add some fire features out there, stone-faced fireplace, some televisions outside for game watches and that sort of thing. But also would allow us to then say, hey, if we get that phone call for a 50-person event that wants to, quote-unquote, close down the Rock Bar for a private event, we can continue to operate normally, stanchion off a portion of that expanded patio and now operate that private event. And that's where that secondary corridor comes into play. Obviously, as Ms. Reeton brought up, in the case of inclement weather, we do have our existing banquet space on the second floor that would be worked in the language of contracts as a backup option when available, if weather wouldn't allow for something outside. And also, throughout the months that the patio is not fully operating, we have the ability to kind of positively impact 2 needs at our hotel and in the community, where we have an existing presidential suite, one of 2, that sits directly adjacent to the Rock Bar existing. And quite frankly, we traditionally avoid putting VIPs in that room, especially on the weekend or busy nights on the Rock Bar, because there is a shared wall between the bedroom wall and that guest room and the Rock Bar restroom, women's restroom. So because we get those phone calls to host private events, part of this proposal is to modify that existing guest room, turn that into an indoor private dining room that would then allow for a more intimate, higher level private dining experience. We know that that needs exist, and that this would allow us not only to serve our existing guests better by increasing the occupancy, so if we have a sold out hotel, 194 guest rooms, potentially 350 hotel patrons that are looking to utilize our amenities and our outlets, that they're not being turned away at the door, there's not a line out the door for them to utilize our spaces. But 2, attending a Chamber of Commerce event today, talking to a lot of locals in the community, business owners, and folks that'll be showcasing and leveraging our space to showcase the city, that they look to the Rock Bar as a space to sell the community, to sell the campus. We do that with recruits when it comes to Michigan State athletics. We've hosted events up there for, it was VP candidate Tim Walsh and everything that went along with that. Magic Johnson, Tom Izzo and his family, other distinguished alumni and folks that are important to the city, that we want to be able to continue and better serve that need that we know exists at the highest level. So that's the why behind the project, and happy to answer any other questions for any specifics.
Questions, Dr. Altman?
Parking.
Yeah.
Parking has been a problem at the Graduate since the building was built. And this won't make it any better. And I'm reading in the agenda item report that the applicant has indicated that they want to revisit the valet parking staging after this portion of the project. That seems like it's putting the cart before the horse a little bit. Could you address that issue?
Yeah, absolutely. So one, completely agree. I was not physically here when the hotel was opened or went through site plan in round 1, but obviously have heard that parking strictly with valet at our hotel has been a uphill battle since I arrived about 1.5 years ago. And first and foremost, I would say that since the first 2 or 3 weeks that I was in the building, as I was making my rounds and talking to some of our most frequent clientele, our most, I don't want to say important, but our most consistent partners at the university and outside that voiced some of those concerns, that I, shook their hands and looked them in the eyes and told them that we would meet a year later and that I would do everything in my power to improve that operation, which has been done as far as the way that it physically exists. A big portion of the challenges that existed were somewhat controllable when it comes to utilizing our third-party valet company, making sure that they are staffed appropriately, scheduled appropriately, and really, most importantly, well aware when we have a one-off private event that goes outside of normal hotel operations. So that if the hotel has 50 arriving guests for that evening and they're expecting to see 35 to 40 vehicles in an evening, but we also have an 8 p.m. hard start time for an event like this with 50 folks coming in, that they are prepared to receive and execute valet parking with all those vehicles. A second thing that's already been implemented to vastly improve that current situation is the spaces that we're leasing, which I would remind or make folks aware here that are not, that all of the space that we do lease is leased from the city. So every dollar of parking lease revenue is something that's making its way to the city, as much as we'd love to have our own lot.
Wait a minute, that's not quite right. You also lease spaces from People's Church, right?
Our recurring leases are 100% from the city.
So now we have two types of leases, recurring leases and occasional leases. Is that what we're talking about?
It's special event leases. So I would say about 4 times throughout the year, when we have home football games, we'll use the People's Church as well. And the reason that I bring it up is that we have added in recurring leased spaces from the city lot so that we can better service where those vehicles are going to go to and when, instead of just kind of being at the mercy of what happens to be open at that time. So increase the number of spaces that we have available to us. So those two are existing, and as the mayor mentioned, we'll continue to utilize other resources when it comes to leaning into the People's Church when we have that need. In addition to that, we have submitted a site plan request to the Site Plan Commission to add in addition some valet staging spaces that would give us an additional 5 spaces on the exterior of our building on our property. It's on the east side of the property where there's the Michigan State themed mural. There's some additional concrete space that we've spec'd out and worked with an architect to develop a plan to add additional spaces there, which would keep vehicles off of the street and more well maintained when we're processing a heavy influx of vehicles. We also have, and really part of the reason that we went back to the drawing board more or less with this parking plan, because it was a part of the original submission, along with the city requested enclosure of the mechanicals on the rooftop, these 2 projects from the patio to the private dining. There were some questions that were brought up about the specifics of that and what an all-encompassing solution would look like. So our team did say, hey, let's make sure we've crossed all T's and dot all I's when it came to the best possible parking plan on top of the things we've already done. And that included reworking, which was just recently finished, a traffic study of that space, showing Evergreen how our parking is currently impacting the flow of traffic there, how additional spaces would positively benefit that, and also the possibility behind would there be a positive impact if there was a proposal included in site plan to turn Evergreen into a one-way street, and how that would impact traffic flow, all with the intention to continue to improve and positively impact the parking situation. So long-winded answer, but I would say a couple of right now controllable items that have been implemented as we speak that have vastly improved that. We 100% for city emergency vehicles, for safety of pedestrians, and also for our own clientele and contractors want to continue to improve that. And those couple of plans that I've spec'd out are in the works and with site plan as we speak.
So if I could just comment briefly in response. So, I appreciate the information-rich answer. At the same time, I am, at this point, lot less interested in plans than I am in a demonstrated solution. And if this had been, the second month of the building's opening, then I'd be more interested in hearing about plans. But after this many years, I'm not interested in hearing about plans anymore. I'm hearing about demonstrated experience, some sort of implementation that solves the problem in a way that the city can measure and that we can be assured is reliable and long-term, because it's just been going on far too long.
Sure.
And in my view, that needs to be in place before we add to the problem.
Mhm.
Other questions? I do have some questions for
Sure.
you, Mr. Cody. First of all, I don't think I've had a chance to, you and I have met, but I haven't publicly congratulated you on being the GM, and I'm just so relieved to have somebody who's a local guy, because I know you were raised in Grand Ledge, and I really think you may be the first general manager that has a real appreciation for some of these issues. So having said that, now I have some questions for you.
Sure.
And if there's something you can't answer, I understand. So let me just tell you the way I see things. I think there's a lot of ill feeling in East Lansing about the way this project transpired. And I'm asking the planning people to go back historically and look at some things specifically in terms of the parking stuff. But at this stage, I need to know on behalf of the city who it is we're really dealing with. No disrespect to you, because I think you do a nice job, and I think as you just demonstrated, you've indicated you have a pretty good grasp of some of the difficulties. In a lot of ways, you're sort of a round peg in a square hole in that situation. So, who owns the hotel now?
It is owned by GEMI Lessee LLC and operated by Schulte Hospitality.
Okay. So, where does Hilton fit in?
Hilton, we actually work as a franchisee underneath Hilton. So, long story short, this Graduate brand, which has grown to now 35 hotels, all owned and operated by the same group, identified kind of a niche in the market. The Hiltons and Marriotts of the world took notice of that successful growth over a 10-year period, wanted some involvement on their end, and us being so heavily reliant on those days that we do rent out to People's Church, your football games, your big basketball games, your move-in weekend graduation. Our regular weekday business transient, one day in, one day out, was identified that it could be positively impacted by Hilton Honors program, that rewards program. If you're a weekly traveler, those rewards points are so important, where there was a collective agreement to say we will move all 35 hotels to operate as franchisees underneath Hilton. They have no ownership stake outside of us paying them franchise fees.
Okay, and us is who?
The ownership group.
GMEI or whatever it is?
Yeah, it's a subsidiary of AJ Capital Partners. So AJ Capital Partners out of Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, and it's also my understanding now that currently there's a refinancing matter going on?
I don't have any comment on that.
You don't know, or you don't have any comment?
I haven't been exposed much to that world, so
okay.
I wouldn't want to misspeak on that.
Okay, all right. And
do you have specific questions, or just is that a...
Not right now, I don't,
okay.
but I may.
Sure.
And so the people who are actually proposing that this change are who? It's not Hilton, correct?
No, it's not Hilton.
Okay.
It would be, being an operations thing, it would be the operator, so that'd be Schulte Hospitality.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's
Schulte,
our operating company.
Schulte essentially is hired by the owner to operate the hotel, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so now you also have a third-party parking operation, the separate corporation that you hire to run the parking, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you gave us a nice little dissertation in terms of some of the marketing needs, but I'm confused. So you need a private room for some events, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you'd like some more outdoor space because it's kind of a cool place to be outdoors.
And we run at full capacity more often than we would like.
Okay. Well, regarding the outdoors, so you're talking now about putting in a fireplace, a gas-powered fireplace?
That's a part of the site plan, correct?
Okay, and maybe I didn't look at the site plan stuff well enough, but the area outside, apart from the new room, the new space, okay, which I assume is going to be over on the northeast corner of the hotel?
Yep.
Okay. That's going to be enclosed?
No, that will be more
Also-
or less a replica of what's
Okay.
currently existing.
So with this plan, do you expect to operate the outside area longer during the year because of?
We would hope so.
Okay. And what's your marketing estimate, or what's your estimate in terms of how long you're going to be operating the outside area now?
Yeah, so I would say our current quote-unquote patio season right now safely is probably like mid-April through sometimes mid-October, early October.
Sure.
And we would hope to expand that at least 2 weeks on each end. So we would say we could expand to maybe, I think what I spec'd out, my estimates that I put together was maybe the third week in March as kind of our first chance to get out there, weather dependent, and then hopefully running that all the way through the full month of October, especially with the consideration that football season is a huge driver for us, and adding the seating, the heating, and some outdoor televisions out there would make that football season a great time to have the
Okay.
patio open. So.
Now, I got to admit, I try not to expose my personal life very much in East Lansing. God knows, everybody knows about my personal life anyway. But the reality is, I really like your bar inside. And you know, because I've seen you up there. And your bartender serves a good old-fashioned. I only have one. But I can walk home from your bar, which is a good thing, Chief, just so you know. In any event, one of the reasons I like your bar is because of what I'm going to call the overstuffed or the club seating. And another new thing I've discovered at your place, I'm kind of giving you a little bit of a marketing speech here.
Yeah.
Because where I'm going on this is I'm scared you're screwing up the marketing. And so the reality is, I like that seating. It's comfortable. And I like your new brunch, your limited brunch, okay? And so I'm having trouble when I look at your materials about what the seating arrangement's going to be, because the last time I was up there a couple Sundays ago, after church, just so you know, Mr. Belleman, for brunch, didn't have an old-fashioned that day. And so the reality is, I thought for the first time I saw you had these, what I'll call these high-top tables in the middle,
Yeah,
and there were only a couple of these club chairs over in a corner.
yeah.
And then I look at the materials you submitted, and candidly, it kind of seems like musical chairs up there, because you're showing different chair arrangements on the inside I'm talking about.
Okay.
On the inside, with the submissions that I saw on Sunday and that I've been used to up there. So capacity-wise on the inside, are you proposing an addition to the inside capacity?
There is a proposal to the inside capacity.
Okay.
A small, I'd have to double check the number, but there is a small
Okay.
proposal.
And I assume, based on what I'm seeing on the diagrams, that's just more seating?
It's more seating.
Okay. So the next time we have a campaign event up there, I happen to be up there for that event.
Yeah.
You'd have to remove all that seating?
We'd remove all of it, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And so right now, do you move the seating around depending on what event's up there?
Yeah, 100%. And that would be the intent as well for the outdoor space. Although the outdoor space, what's slated out there would definitely be more of that comfortable, casual, lounge type seating, I'd call it. I mean, I know you mentioned the marketing and kind of business side of it. I'd tell you that the intent behind those high tops and the brunch period was ultimately to increase sales and allow us to lean in more to food sales, which have shown a great increase year over year, because we we knew that we had the ability to do that, but we were kind of previously looked at a spot just to grab an old fashioned and maybe an appetizer, and we want to be a spot also to be thought of for brunch, for dinner and a drink, and our original seating as comfortable to have a casual drink, as some of that soft seating was pretty cumbersome to share a burger and that sort of thing. So both will be incorporated, but definitely the inside seating would have more of a kind of food-focused feel when it comes to some of those high tops, and then your softer seating, lounge-type seats outside, 100% of which can be completely removed and moved, because again, if the intent is that we had the ability to host a family's wedding reception, that we did a portion of that on the Rock Bar rooftop, we want to ensure that we have the ability to pull and rearrange all of that furniture, including bringing banquet service equipment out, so banquet tables, banquet chairs, like we would in our second floor.
Okay. So all those banquets can be accommodated on your second floor, correct?
They can.
That's what you've been doing.
That's what we've been doing.
Okay.
It's just we get the call often. Hey, I was up at the Rock Bar, great place to grab a drink.
I understand.
Now I want to host a 15-person private
And so, these events that you're talking about, which are, I think you used the term showplace events for this family or that family or this person from Michigan State or whatever, I mean, you don't need all of these additional people for those kind of events, do you?
Can you clarify all these additional type of people?
Well, I don't know, what's the request here? How many additional seats or capacity?
The total would be 268, which is an increase of 172.
Okay.
That for sure, it would be the absolute ideal on a regular day-to-day.
Hang on.
Sure.
Hang on.
Sure.
Who is it that needs an additional 172 seats on your top floor?
So the breakdown would be Rock Bar operating at full capacity.
Which is how many now?
It's currently 96.
Okay.
Yeah, so a Rock Bar operates as is, 96. With this new site plan, I believe that number has a small increase, but we can call it 100 for round number. Then we have, our best case scenario would be maybe 100-person or 120-person event for a reception, taking up every space of that patio. So we bring out banquet chairs, maybe we walk somebody down the aisle, we have cocktail rounds, and we've got 120 people out there, so we're at 220. And then you have that private dining room, which sits directly adjacent to the Rock Bar, and we got that call from that family member that's in town and wants to celebrate their daughter's graduation, and they're putting 30 people in there, and that's how we would get to that number.
So
but it would definitely be the ideal.
So I'm conscious that you have weddings there. I mean, there are times when I'm there and you have weddings.
Sure.
So is part of this, you want to be able to have weddings, larger weddings up on the?
We'd love to be able to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So your regular day-to-day operating would be a much, much smaller number than that. We went with this number so that if we got all of those perfect storm business opportunities came together, we could service them all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to segue to two things that Dr. Altman brought up, and I'm not going to apologize for taking up all this time because I want to understand this.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the way I started out this dissertation, which is there's still a lot of people in this town that really have some issues, okay?
Sure.
So where are all these people going to park?
So we plan to park them in the city lots and also likely would use the People's Church.
Okay. And you're familiar with other graduate operations?
Somewhat. I've
Okay.
never operated others, but I've
Okay.
been there.
So is it true that in other graduate locations, many of which are in college towns, there is a schematic in which there's restricted parking at the location, and there are actually shuttles that run people to parking?
So I have never seen or heard of a shuttle service within the graduate portfolio. It very well could exist, but I have not been exposed to that.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Thanks, I appreciate you
Yeah, for
going
sure.
through this.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Go ahead.
Follow up, because I would hate to hear it come up here and not mention it to you while
Sure.
you're here. And this goes back to some of the parking and the mural outside. I am the council liaison to the Arts Commission.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I want to go big picture that in terms of being attractive downtown is developing that sense of place. And I just worry about parking, blocking some of the mural assets. So I just want to flag that, and then to our mayor's point as well, and while your larger events up there are going to be on the weekends, up on your new proposed deck facilities and such, that I think figuring out as we have these large franchises downtown, how we continue to develop
Yeah.
that local feel. And I do have a deep appreciation that you're here in Friendman, Michigan. So thank you
Yeah,
for choosing to make your life
Yeah,
here.
like the mayor mentioned, I'm diehard Michigan State guy, born and raised here. My parents went to Michigan State. I went to Michigan State, so when this opportunity as a graduate of the hospitality business school here came up to come back home and do what I could to be a part of this community and operate this hotel, so tied closely to the university, it's like a dream come true for me. So super happy to be home and very, very excited about what the hotel currently does and what this project would allow us to do. So.
Okay, other questions?
Just a comment, if I can. I don't want you to be misled with regard to me. This is just my own view on this, which is that I can't give you 71 patrons to just stand around on any of our bars or restaurants. But I can, I don't have a problem with, in particular, with the expansions that you have that relate to seats. Mm-hmm. And I'll just note that even if we approve 20 patrons for a private dining room, when that's not being used, you would be able to use those 20 patrons as standing room within the other parts of it. So I can't support your request, but I can support some of it. So.
Okay, anything else? Thank you, sir. Anybody else want to speak in the public hearing? Okay.
I just want to make one comment.
Yes,
since
ma'am, go
nobody
ahead.
else made comments. I just wanted to say, when you talk about the expansion, it just makes me think we're becoming more urban. And so I'll stay at conferences in hotels in more urban cities, and they'll tell you, you might not have a parking space, or you got to pay for this parking space, or here's the other parking spots for you. So it's just what's happening as we grow in the city of East Lansing. And I think the Graduate is a cool spot, and it's nice to be up there and also to be up there with people that are around my age. So just, appreciations, and hopefully it's something the community wants to see.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
Thanks. I'll close the public hearing. Back to staff. Any questions for staff from council? Okay, I think we've aired a whole lot of things here, so thank you. I apologize to council for taking so much time, but my curiosity gets the best of me sometimes. So the next thing on the agenda is we move to the business agenda. Item 6.1, consideration of ordinance 1417 amendments intended to clarify exceptions and permission for overnight parking. Gentlemen?
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. My name is Chris King with the City IT Department, and seated beside me is East Lansing Police Captain Adam Park. We appreciate this opportunity to present a second reading of proposed amendments to Ordinance 1417. At the July 15th meeting, Councilmember Altman proposed a minor revision adding the words "for that vehicle" to Section 44-298, subsection 2B. Those amendments before you tonight include this revision. To briefly recap, Ordinance 1417 outlines exceptions to overnight parking in the city. The Pace Department and 54B District Court suggested that there are opportunities for improvement with the current ordinance and, if amended, would better align with current processes and clarify the exceptions. We brought together a cross-functional team made up of several departments throughout the city to review this ordinance. The team sorted through the history of the ordinance, work group processes, request mechanics, and ultimately proposed the changes before you today. In summary, the proposed amendments shift the permission from a residence to the vehicle. They remove ambiguity as it relates to the definition of a year and clarify the conditions under which an exception will be granted. The proposal was reviewed with City Attorney Stephen Jopik, whose redlined version of the ordinance is attached to the agenda. Subject to your questions.
Any questions for staff? Dr. Altman.
A couple of questions. So first of all, thank you to you and the team for working on this and gathering a bunch of data and thinking it through from lots of different angles. I wanted to try to reconstruct why we're linking the permits to the vehicle rather than the address. And I'm going to guess that it has something to do with essentially people stealing other people's addresses.
That's 100% correct, yes.
Okay. All right. And so this fixes that particular issue. All right. A couple of questions about, so the growth has been astonishing, right? And so one question I have is this scalable? Is this solution scalable? And if the answer is no, we'll find out, and at that point we may have to adapt it, I guess. So
Yes, it is scalable. And part of the reason that this language was proposed instead of other language was because we wanted it to be durable language so that it would sustain, and that if council needed a throttle mechanism built in, they had one with the count of 20 and moving that permission slider around a little bit. But ultimately, the tool that's used in order to submit these requests is an online form. And when people go to that online form, like most online forms today, you can just have autocomplete do most of the work for you. So if you've been through that process once, those fields are saved. And that from that standpoint, it is quite scalable because we can just collect that input data. What's more difficult and challenging is if we rely somehow in the process on manual labor in order to accommodate this. If we were to have phone screening, for instance, for every single contact, that becomes a not scalable process.
So that was actually the flip side of my question is how automated is this, and how much human intervention is required in processing a particular request? Or is it completely automated at this point?
Correct. I'd say over 95%. The PACE officer still collects the list after it's been completely automated, but the full online registration process, there's very few people that aren't able to do that. If there is someone that does not have a computer, they can still call into the police desk, and the cadet will help them enter it in.
So from the city side, how automated is it? So you mentioned
I would say over 95%.
Okay, so a cadet at some point has to touch a list at some point, or not?
No, now it's just the PACE officer can print off the list, and they can view it exactly how it is easiest for them in their enforcement.
And nobody on the city side has to touch it between the requests coming in and the list getting printed out. So basically the PACE officer just prints out the list.
Correct.
And that's it. Okay. Okay, I guess my last comment is that the heat map that you provide at the end of the agenda item report is really revealing. The usage correlates almost entirely with rental areas in the city. It's basically as close to a perfect correlation as you get.
That was our finding as well. Yeah.
And the question that raises in my mind is whether this program is really meeting the goals of residents who might have a guest coming in or something like that, and in fact instead is essentially creating overflow parking for properties that are overoccupied close to campus. And that's really just a comment more than it is a question, but it might inform our decision in the future about whether to change that throttle point.
I do think in addition to your point about over occupancy, it does allow for people to host guests and find a parking solution for their guests that they have in from out of town.
Okay, any other questions for staff?
Yeah, I've got a couple of
Please.
questions. This does seem like a big expansion of the ability to park overnight on our streets. What was the thought behind going to 20 nights per car? I realize that we moved to vehicle identification from a household, but, essentially what we'd be saying here is that, let's just say that everybody has all 10 of their friends come up in their own cars on a weekend, and for 10 weekends, we've got 10 cars out there parked on the street in front, because it sounds like this is almost an automatic approval if you comply by putting in your written request with the appropriate information before 11:59 p.m. Was there any discussion about fewer days being permitted?
Yes, there was. And to that effect, that's the part that we're hoping that council will take a look at with, an understanding of what the constituency is looking for in terms of the service. And, hopefully through this process, we can either move that number to something that's more accommodating or not. We have deliberated this internally a lot, trying to understand that each solution to this problem contains a suboptimal component, which is difficult, right? If you just eradicate overnight parking, then that's going to pose a problem for people. If you allow all overnight parking, then that's going to cause a problem. So there must be some permission given, but finding that right number, we erred on the side of more permissive than more restrictive to give you the opportunity to move that needle if you need to.
Okay. And I just note that, and this is a little bit off of this particular ordinance change, but the decision by the court was basically we couldn't provide any evidence that they had met their or that they had violated their limitation on parking over that year. We've taken care of that, I assume, with this new process where we put it in electronically with the police department, and there is a record that is made immediately with regard to the fact that the request has been made. So we will not run into this issue again with the court that we can't produce evidence that somebody has violated the 20 limitation. But I also recently had someone contact me because between 2 and 6 a.m. Up in Hawk Nest, cars were ticketed with regard to this violation. There is no signage in Hawk Nest that prohibits the parking on any street between 2 and 6 a.m., and these are private streets. Should we be issuing tickets under those circumstances in that area?
So I guess for that one, I would defer to Mr. Jopik, with that being a private road.
Yes, that is something we would certainly need to look into if that did in fact occur.
Would you do that, please?
Yes.
Yeah, I need you to take a look at that. That's a condominium, the entire neighborhood is, and those are private streets. They do have a contract with the city, and there may be contract provisions that I'm not aware of, but there is a contract for the city to, fill cracks and do snow plowing and things like that, but I'm not aware of anything that permits them to regulate parking within that condominium project. So that's my questions. Thanks.
Any other questions for staff?
Yeah, I have a question.
Please.
I have some questions. Regarding PACE officers, since I've been able to be co-counsel liaison for East Lansing Independent Police Oversight Commission, for example, there was a situation where you start learning that the PACE officer has discretion in who they ticket. And we were able to follow a case where the PACE officer skipped over one car and then ticketed the other car for the exact same reasons. And it, I believe, anyway, I won't mislead on that part. So where I'm going with this is, as far as checks and balances go overall for this ticketing system, how do we know whether a PACE officer is going out to a particular neighborhood only? How do we know? We've also received an email about the PACE officers and ticketing in Southeast Marble and wondering if there's over-ticketing happening. So where's the checks and balances for us to see that a neighborhood maybe isn't being targeted or is being targeted, and it should also match outside of, oh, there's a rule of you can't park between 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., so we're just going to go there because it's legal and we can ticket you, and then every single time maybe they're going into that neighborhood or they're not. So how do we have that check and balance to have that information on where the PACE officers and where the ticketing is happening at?
So currently, there's a civilian supervisor in charge of PACE, and he does monitor the PACE officers' activities. Additionally, PACE officers also respond to complaints much the same way that police do. If they have particular neighborhoods they're calling, and Southeast Marble has been one where we have gotten a lot of complaints.
And so is there information that shows where the PACE officers are going and not going? Even when I think about the police too, there's sometimes hot spots where the police are at to stop cars. And so how do we follow that process for what the PACE officers are doing to make sure it's equitable for our community and one neighborhood isn't getting over-ticketed or anything like that?
I understand where you're going. The reality is there are bigger problems in some neighborhoods, and that heat map will show, exactly where, the really hot areas are. And most of those are kind of in the student areas where sometimes, they're utilizing both sides of the street when they shouldn't, whatnot. So there are areas that are a stronger call for them. Again, the PACE supervisor does monitor, the number of citations they're writing and where they're writing, and ensuring they're going to the areas where we're getting the complaints.
Thanks.
Okay, I move we adopt ordinance number 1552, amending Chapter 44, Article Roman numeral 3, Division 8, Section 44-298, quote, all-night parking prohibited, violation of civil infraction, end quote, of the East Lansing City Code.
Second.
Okay, moved by Brookover, seconded by Singh. Any further discussion?
Mayor, I have an amendment.
Of course.
I'd like to move amendment of Section 44-298, paragraph, subsection 2, paragraph B, which currently reads 20 nights total. I'd like to move an amendment to change that to read 10 nights total.
I'll second that.
I can't, I need to follow. Will you say that again?
Section 44-298, Section 2, paragraph B, currently reads 20 nights total. I want to amend that to read 10 nights total.
From 20 to 10?
Correct.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend the motion. Is there discussion with regard to the motion to amend?
If I could just comment on the motion, I think that the heat map and the data on the increase in requests is telling me that we're essentially creating overflow parking on the streets in a way that I don't think was the intent when we developed this mechanism. And I think that for starting it out, we need to see if we can pull that back a little bit.
Okay, further discussion?
I'll just indicate that I supported this because I do have an issue. I do believe that we are creating too much on-street parking with the 20 nights per car per year. 10 nights, I think, is easily manipulable. For most families, if they are going to use this, they can move one car in and one car out. I think there's an easy way to accommodate the 10, but we may be creating a big problem if we go all the way to 20. And I appreciate the fact that you had this discussion. This was the number that was already in here, and you left it in. I think it's up to us to make the change.
Okay, so the current standard was 20, correct?
20 per household.
Yeah.
Per household.
I understand. And the judge's decision was relative to how the police department was defining a year,
Correct.
because the police department was defining a year as essentially a school year rather than a calendar year, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was just gonna, I plan to vote against this amendment. I don't feel like restricting family and/or guests to visit our community, regardless of the address, if it's gonna be done by vehicle.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion to amend? Could we have a roll call vote,
I
please?
wanted to-
Go ahead, please.
I wanted to comment that I will be voting against it as well. And when we talked about it possibly being rental areas, I think about people, for example, like my daughter that goes to hang with her friends on U of M campus. And so limiting her ability to spend the night, or that students spend the night with each other, I'm not in agreement with that. So I will be voting against it.
Well, for the record, I'm going to vote against it for a couple different reasons. Number one, it's the existing policy we found, and I've not heard of major complaints with regard to this, at least in my neighborhood. Number two, if we assume, for the sake of argument, that this has some enhanced effect in terms of what will some people call student housing areas, the reality is, if in fact that's the case, and I would rather have those, quote, students, end quote, be properly parked overnight rather than to go out in their cars at 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the morning and try to traverse our roads in what may be situations where they shouldn't be driving for one reason or another. So those are some of the reasons why I'm going to vote against the amendment. So could we have a roll call vote, please? Go ahead. Go ahead. Sure.
Previously, we had 20 nights assigned to each address, correct?
Correct.
So if the average house in East Lansing has 2 cars, we've just doubled the number of overnights for those households. And if a household has more than 2 cars, then if it has 3 cars, then we've tripled it. So I think that the number of 20 is not actually a continuation. I think it's a substantial expansion.
Okay, point well taken. Thank you. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Altman?
Yes.
Councilmember Meadows?
Yes.
Councilmember Watson?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Singh?
No.
Mayor Brookover?
No. Okay, we return to the main motion. Any further discussion on the main motion? Could we have a roll call vote with regard to the main motion, please?
Councilmember Altman?
Yes.
Councilmember Meadows?
Yes.
Councilmember Watson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Singh?
Yes.
Mayor Brookover?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Let's now turn to item 6.2, consideration of a request from Matt Levitt on behalf of Meyer, Inc. for approval of a special use permit located at 100 West Lake Lansing Road. The applicant request is to construct a 5,751 square foot gas station with 6 gas pump islands and 12 pumps. The property is zoned B2 Retail Sales Business District. Staff.
Hello again, Alicia Wrighton, Planning. City Council held their public hearing for the Meyer gas station on June 17th. The applicant requested that the vote for the proposal be deferred from the July 15th meeting to tonight's meeting. The proposal is for the development of 3 vacant lots of approximately 1.5 acres located at the northwest corner of Westlake Lansing and Abbott Roads. The request is for a large format Meyer Express, which has 12 gas pumps, and the applicant provided that it will offer a larger selection of fresh grab-and-go foods as well as hot and ready meals and drinks. This particular location will provide for expanded food options, health and beauty options, and other items typically found at a supercenter. The proposed project includes a lot line adjustment to the north of 5 feet necessitated by the right-of-way transfer to meet the street tree requirements of the ordinance. The proposal meets the minimum requirements for lighting, landscaping, and parking, and 2 EV charger stations are proposed. The clerk's office did receive a number of letters and signatures in support of the request today, which were uploaded to the city council meeting packet. On June 16th, the Planning Commission voted 1-5 in a failed motion to recommend approval of the request. The applicant is here for any additional questions, and I can answer as well.
Okay, questions for staff? Any questions for staff? Okay, do we have a motion?
I have a motion.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to move to approve a special use request from Matt Levitt on behalf of Meyer Incorporated to construct a 5,751 square foot gas station with 6 gas pump islands and 12 pumps for the following reasons. The proposed development meets all applicable ordinance requirements. The proposal meets the standards of review identified in sections 50-38 and 50-94 of the Code of Ordinances. Then the proposed use of the property is compatible with surrounding land uses and will not adversely impact the use and enjoyment of adjacent properties, subject to the following conditions. As stated on page 17 and 18 of the staff report we received, there are 14 conditions on that location, at that location.
And do you have an additional condition you wish to add?
I think if we get a second, we can do an amendment on that. So.
Okay, well, I'll second the motion. Attorney Jopik, is the motion in the proper format as far as you're concerned at this point?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Discussion or modifications?
I have an amendment.
Yes, sir.
Which is to add a 15th condition to read as follows. The applicant shall submit a landscape plan which provides for, but is not limited to, the replacement of trees removed from the site as follows: the planting and maintenance of at least 29 regionally native trees. All replacement trees shall comply with the city's 2023 tree manual. Should city staff determine during the review of a landscape plan that the development site is insufficient in size to accommodate the planting of 29 replacement trees, the applicant shall be permitted to satisfy this condition by planting the number of trees exceeding site capability on Lot 14 with that owner's permission. During the initial or any subsequent lease period, any tree subject to this condition or other approved landscaping which fails to survive shall be promptly replaced by the applicant. In the event of a sale of the site, the responsibility stated here shall run with the land until such time as the site, including Lot 14, is redeveloped.
You're making a motion to amend the main motion?
That is a motion to amend the main motion, and let me add to the motion, this condition is based on section 50-38, subsection 2 of our zoning ordinance, which requires that site development shall, quote, minimize the disruption or loss of desirable elements, unquote, and section 2A of ordinance 1203, which allows for conditions that protect natural resources. That is my motion.
Okay, I second the motion to amend. Is there any discussion on the motion to amend?
Did Councilmember Meadows, did you say that the applicant was aware of 15?
Yes.
And
The applicant can indicate for himself, but
Where are you at?
he's in agreement with it.
and who did you talk to about it?
Who are you asking?
Whoever I'm supposed to be asking. You guys said that he could
Patrick
confirm.
Gillespie owns the property.
Yes. Who did you talk to about the additional number 15?
Was brought up by city staff.
All right. So city staff brought it to your attention.
We talked to Mr. Meadows about
What? Say that again.
it. Yeah, and then we talked to Mr. Meadows after city staff.
Okay. All righty. Thank
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion to amend? We have roll call vote on the motion to amend, please.
Councilmember Altman,
Yes.
Councilmember Meadows,
Yes.
Councilmember Watson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Singh,
Yes.
Mayor Brookover.
Yes, So the motion to amend passes. We now return to the main motion as amended with the addition of this condition 15. Is there any further discussion with regard to the main motion as amended?
I do have just a couple of questions that are indicated to me. In condition number 1, which reads approval in accordance with the plans provided by the applicant and per testimony, I'm not aware of, when we refer to testimony, of course I refer to sworn testimony. I'm not sure we received that, but I want to just make sure you're referring to whatever was commented at the microphone or during your discussions. Is that correct?
It's what's commented by the applicant during
During
their presentation.
this
Okay.
public hearing.
And-
Hang on just a second. Mr. Jopik, is my interpretation of that correct, for the record? That the testimony would be that public comment, if any, that was submitted during the time of the public hearing with regard to this matter?
Yes, and I would include the planning commission with that as well.
Correct, okay.
At any public meeting.
All right. Thank you for the record. Go ahead,
And
Mr.
it also
Meadows.
goes on to mention subject to revisions, quote, as required, period. And we're referring to revisions that would be approved by city council. Is that correct?
Mr. Jopik?
If I could defer to staff on that, if that's okay, Mr. Mayor, first, and then I'll jump in if there's a legal
Okay,
aspect to
thank
that.
Such that if perhaps the environmentalist and arborist find that what is provided on that plan doesn't meet the requirements.
Got it. So, yeah, especially on the landscape plan. Okay. Just wanted to confirm that.
Hang on just a
One
second.
more.
Mr. Jopik, do you can
I think Mr. Bartley has something.
Are you in agreement with that?
I am so far. I think Mr.
Okay.
Bartley has
all right.
something else. I think
Sorry
Mr.
to
Bartley
interrupt,
has
Mark.
something
I just
else
want to
to
go
add.
point by point here.
Just
Mr. Mayor, I
I'm
think-
just looking
I
for
think there's some-
clarifications here. And then on number 5, which provides for the lot line adjustment, we can do that via this condition. It does not require a lot split. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It requires a lot line adjustment. If I may.
Just an adjustment, right?
Yes.
Okay.
One other point.
Just as far as, yeah, modifications, I mean, those modifications could be based on conditions of approval if this motion is approved. Could be based on building or fire or other codes that would necessitate minor changes to the site plan.
And that's the process. The applicant doesn't have to do anything more other than get this approval. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just add,
Yes,
now
sir.
that we
Please.
have all the comments from staff on modifications, I think we're also talking about general modifications that might be necessary, sometimes having to come back to the approval body, perhaps sometimes not. So there could be adjustments to the plan over time
Yes.
of various types.
Okay, and then in number 7, just to confirm, it provides for written verification from CATA on the bus location change. It's required it says prior to execution of the memorandum of special use. Do you mean filing with the county
Yes.
or signing the document?
Filing.
Okay. Just so we have clarified that, then I'm really good with this.
Okay.
I have some comments, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I was just going to add that on that, I think that the condition as stated does address that adequately. I don't think Councilmember Meadows is talking about amending that condition, just wanting to verify that it includes signature.
Correct.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Dr. Altman.
Thank you. So a couple of comments. I also want to, I think it was important that we did the tree condition. We've been trying to do more with trees in the city overall. We're doing well with public trees with our block pruning program and our tree planting program. But there's more we can do with private trees. Of course, that's difficult because we're trying to, it's hard to tell people what to do on private property, but these site plan reviews are an opportunity to require tree replacement. And so I'm glad we could do that here, and I hope we are on a path to strengthening our ordinance to require tree replacement as a matter of course, so we don't have to do it ad hoc with each proposal. I also want to draw attention to condition 10, which requires a net decrease in stormwater runoff from existing site conditions. This is an idea that grew out of the Green Code Committee in reaction to the stormwater events of last summer. And so we're trying to keep that ball rolling and make sure that each new project makes the problem a little better rather than a little bit worse. And it's notable here because this is actually a development on a green site, so we're reducing stormwater runoff from a green site after the development. So I think that's notable. I think both of these conditions are good conditions that we should have applied to any project that went into this property. That said, I'm going to follow the Planning Commission's lead on this and vote against the project. The Planning Commission did a lot of work on this project. We spend maybe half an hour on this. They spent hours on it. They talked to the community. They talked amongst each other. They talked to the property owner and the applicant, and they looked at this from every possible angle, and they ultimately settled on a no recommendation by a pretty strong vote. And I want to channel two of their concerns here because I think they're well taken. One is traffic. Crashes at this intersection are already high, and they will go up if we approve this project on grounds of the increased frequency of ingress and egress from the property. And we learned all about conflict points when people merge into traffic when we considered the Trowbridge project a couple of years ago. And MDOT went to the extent of redesigning an entire traffic pattern to minimize or to reduce the number of conflict points because conflict points predict accidents. And we will see more conflict points here from people merging out of the property onto busy, fast-moving traffic, and so crashes are going to go up. The other traffic consideration here is that, and this was raised by a planning commissioner, the sidewalk along Abbott, along this property, connects the neighborhoods to the south to the recreational facilities to the north, the aquatic center and the soccer complex. And we would like that connection to be walkable. And those curb cuts with all the ingress and egress, cars pulling in and pulling out every few minutes all day long, is going to make that connection a little less walkable. And in general, it's going to make it a little harder to walk from the north of the city to the south of the city. And that by itself is not fatal to the project, but it gets to the issue of the tension between cars and pedestrians. And I'm going to come down on the side of pedestrians here because the property owner had a choice about what project to put in here, and so they could have chosen something else. And then the other issue that the Planning Commission raised was the future land use map, which does not contemplate gas stations in this area, and I think that's appropriate because I don't think they fit. Nothing up there is like this. It's on that side of the street, it's all retail or office and a little bit of retail. And the applicant and the property owner would reply and say, well, it's currently zoned for gas stations, but it's not zoned for gas stations by right, it's zoned for gas stations by special use permit, and that gives us the ability to consider the operational characteristics of gas stations, which include people pulling in and out all the time, and that creates exactly the issues that I've been talking about. So I want to thank the Planning Commission for their work on this, and I'm going to vote in opposition.
Okay, I'm going to vote in favor of this because with due respect to the Planning Commission, who does an excellent job and had a great discussion about this, I actually feel that this particular proposal satisfies each and every condition of the special use permit analysis. And in addition, I think it's consistent with the current zoning. And so those are the primary reasons that I'm going to vote in favor of it. Any other comment for the record? Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Altman?
No.
Councilmember Meadows?
Yes.
Councilmember Watson?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Singh?
Yes.
Mayor Brookover?
Yes. Okay, thank you, staff. I think, are you keeping the table here?
We are.
Are you? Okay. Item 6.3, consideration of a request from Joe David for approval of a special use permit located at 101 East Grand River Avenue, the Land Shark. The applicant request is to expand the bar and dining area with alcohol service. The property is zoned B3 City Center Commercial. Staff, please.
The Land Shark was established prior to the special use process and had an occupancy of 212. As stated in the previous meeting, they had been granted staff approval in 2022 for an occupancy of 270 based on building code factors. The current building code allows for an occupancy of 240, which is what the current request is for. They are requesting that occupancy of 240, which is the building code, but also then for the special use request for the expanded alcohol service, which is an increase of 28 to the existing 212. The applicant indicated in the public comment period that they're installing a larger door out the front, and they've also improved their exit strategies for the exterior ingress and egress. They also provide for security and staff of 40, which is included in that number of 240. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval on June 25th, as did the DDA recommend approval on June 26th. I can answer any questions, and the applicant is here as well.
Questions for staff?
Just one question, really. You mentioned that they were given staff approval to go to 270. I'm not aware of any ability of staff to do that. They relied on a staff analysis to go to 270, correct?
Correct.
Okay. They didn't get approval, they just relied on the former owners, I guess, right?
So the former former fire marshal and plan reviewer are the ones that indicated the 270, and that's what they were operating on, understanding that they didn't need any additional approvals to do so.
But they did need a special use permit to
Yes.
do that, correct? So they now know that they were
Yes.
operating inappropriately, correct?
Which is why he's come today and through this process
Okay,
to correct
and
the
they
situation.
deserve credit for that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, council, what's the preference of the council? I'm going to, for the purposes of the record, I'm going to make a motion to excuse me just a second.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure,
Before
sure.
you get to yours?
Yeah, please.
The seating plan that we have in the packet is for the 270.
240.
Is there a new one? Because I didn't see the 240 in there.
It should be 240.
And maybe I just missed it.
So it's an email.
He indicated by email the.
Yeah, page 40 is 66.
I'm sorry, people, turn your mics up so we can hear you, please.
There's an email from the applicant indicating the 240. I'm looking for the plan.
It's page 40 of 66 is the email.
Oh, you're correct. It does still state 270 on the plan. But the applicant's testimony, as well as the email from the applicant, indicates 240 for a maximum request.
Got it.
Okay, I'm going to move to deny the request from Joe David for approval of a special use permit located at 101 East Grand River Avenue, the Land Shark. The applicant request is to expand the bar and dining area with alcohol service. This approval includes alcohol service and increased patron capacity not to exceed 240 persons for the following reasons. I believe the proposed development does not meet all applicable ordinance requirements. I believe the proposal does not meet the standards of review identified in sections 50-38 of the Code of Ordinances. and I believe the proposed use of the property is not compatible with surrounding land uses and will not adversely, will adversely impact the use and enjoyment of adjacent properties. And specifically, with regard, well, I want to make the motion, and then when we get to discussion, I'll talk about the special use permit analysis. So that's my motion. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion on the motion.
The motion is to deny.
Correct.
All right, I've got a couple of things I could say. One, this, like other applications that we've had recently, seems to request a lot of standing room ability. Not as much as if it was going to 270, I will say that. But it also seems to me that when I look at the existing seating plan, there is space within this area, particularly in relation to the booth that is shown with 12 seats in it. And between that and the end of the bar and the foretop that sits below, there's easily space there to add another 25 or 30 seats, which would take care of the issue of making sure that people have a place to sit within this. You know, it looked from the application that the idea was that, you know, you just pile a bunch, you just count the number of people who'd be on the dance floor, and they don't have to have seats. I don't think that's how it really works in virtually any bar I've been in, which has been a lot of bars. So I'm not supportive of how this is being approached at this point in time, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't entertain a change if there was more seating proposed by the applicant.
Mayor, point of order, if I might.
Sure.
On process grounds, and the city attorney might be the person to check with on this, but it might be helpful if you amended your motion to include your special use permit analysis.
Is that necessary, Mr. Jopik? I can do it either way.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm glad the question was asked. I was going to weigh in on that. First, the motion references section 50-38, which is applicable. It's a site plan approval standards, but also applicable here are the special use permit standards in 50-94. And I think that the motion at a minimum needs to be amended to include the reference over to that other set of standards in 50-94, specifically 50-94A and B2, to the extent possible in looking at those standards, explain how this particular application doesn't meet, which of those standards this application doesn't meet. If those could be expanded upon, it would be helpful for the record.
Okay. Then I'll amend the motion as follows. I'm just going to restate the motion. So I move to deny the request from Joe David for approval of a special use permit located at 101 East Grand River Avenue, the Land Shark. The applicant request is to expand the bar and dining area with alcohol service. This approval includes alcohol service and increased patron capacity not to exceed 240 persons for the following reasons. The proposed development does not meet all applicable ordinance requirements. Number two, the proposal does not meet the standards of review identified in sections 50-38 of the Code of Ordinances. Number three, the proposed use of the property is not compatible with surrounding land uses and will adversely impact the use and enjoyment of adjacent properties. And number four, the proposed use of the properties is in contravention to section 50-94, paren A, and paren B, and paren 2, for at least the following reasons. And those reasons are the site plan for the property, the proposed use will adversely affect the use and enjoyment of adjacent properties by generating excessive noise, vibration, light, glare, odors, or any other form of pollution or nuisances. Second, the proposed use shall shall materially diminish the economic value of the adjacent properties or the city as a whole. Third, the proposed use shall materially diminish the privacy, safety, security, or enjoyment of any residential dwelling or residential neighborhood within the vicinity of the site. And finally, the establishment shall cause or continue an undue concentration of similar uses in the neighborhood such that liquor establishments and trade become a dominant influence or feature of the district or neighborhood. So that's my restated motion. Is there a second?
He just has to agree to it. It's a friendly amendment.
I'll accept the changes to the
Okay,
motion.
so moved and seconded. Discussion with regard to the motion. Other discussion?
Oh, I have discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
So just again, the capacity was going from 212 to 240, which is 28 additional guests for occupancy.
38, no, 28, yeah.
Just 28. I didn't know, calculator, thank you. I'm going to be voting against this piece of it. I've stated before, when we hang out at nighttime, we can stand. People know that sometimes it's standing that you do. Sometimes you're lucky if you get a seat or you ask people if they're going to leave. And the other example I wanted to point out is Gray Wall Hall. If anyone's been there for a concert, you pay extra if you're going to sit down. But again, the understanding is you might be standing for a long period of time. And so I think it's great that the applicant came forward because this came about because they realized something was off. And I think that just adding an additional 28 to your occupancy is going to work for the demographic that they serve. So I'll be voting against the motion on the floor.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion?
I
Yes,
do,
sir.
I too will be voting against the motion. I disagree with some of the pieces of the motion as articulated. And I think that I want to give some appreciation to the owner who proactively made some changes. And I got to say, I feel fortunate I made it out of the 90s without those changes, and I'm not sure what the capacity was back in the 90s, but something says maybe it was beyond the current day capacity. With that said, I don't want to take us back to when we don't have dancing and other components. So I don't see this as forward-looking with a small capacity change to 228 with some of the changes that have already been made. So, thank you.
Okay.
One comment, if I might.
Yes,
Mayor.
sir.
My perspective on this, I'll try to put it succinctly. The occupancy in bars in the core downtown at this point is around 5,000 persons, okay, which is approximately 10% of the entire population of East Lansing, okay, which is a lot of people. And the way we got here is through some big expansions, but also through a whole bunch of small expansions. And at some point, you got to say, is this a problem or not? And I think that we're well past where it's a problem. And from that perspective, the action here seems pretty clear to me.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Altman.
Yes.
Councilmember Meadows.
No.
Councilmember Watson.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Singh.
No.
Mayor Brookover.
Yes. Okay, the motion fails. Do we have an additional motion?
Yes, I will make a motion to approve the special use permit located at 101 East Grand River Avenue. The property is zoned currently at a B3 City Center Commercial.
Second.
Does that include the conditions that are stated?
Including the conditions laid out in the staff proposal.
Do you agree to that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yes, I have a motion.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Mr.
I would-
Jopik.
Being back-
I'm sorry, I interrupted
No,
Councilmember Meadows.
Go
Go ahead.
Go ahead with Mr. Jopik, please.
I was just going to mention that there are some stated bases for supporting a motion to approve, and also in the agenda packet that talk about that the proposed use of the property is or is not compatible with surrounding land uses, won't adversely impact use and enjoyment of properties. Those are bases that you typically want to include in motions like this if they're motions to approve and other findings in the ordinance. Also, I think part of the discussion is whether this includes up to the 240. I think it was implied in the motion, but I don't recall hearing it, and would suggest that for clarity's sake that the motion include that.
All right, let me get to the right document.
Madam Councilmember, the sample motion is on page 11 of the staff report.
I just have to get to the right document at the right size font to be able to look at it.
Okay, where are we at now? Can I make a motion? Okay, I want to make a motion to add a condition number 11, which provides that the applicant shall add 28 seats to the existing location to accommodate the additional 28 individuals being approved by this approval of their application.
Okay, can I suggest, Mr. Meadows, you just hold on that for a minute, because I think if I'm properly interpreting our city attorney thinks the motion to approve this should be in a different form with more specific reasoning because of existing state law. And so I think Councilmember Singh is looking to revise that motion to include the specific components. And then once she makes the motion, I think you may want to add your condition, please.
All right. I move to approve the request from Joe David for approval of the special use permit located at 101 East Grand River Avenue. The applicant request is to expand the bar and dining area with alcohol service. This approval includes alcohol service and increased patron capacity not to exceed 240 persons for the following reasons. The proposed development does meet all applicable ordinance requirements. The proposal does meet the standards of review identified in sections 50-38 of the Code of Ordinances. The proposed use of property is compatible with surrounding land uses and will not adversely impact the use and enjoyment of adjacent properties.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Watson. Mr. Jopik, is that in the format you wish?
Well, I apologize to council for this, but there are also some conditions that you might want to consider including in that motion, and also a reference to 50-94A and B, that it would need to satisfy that section as well, 50-94A and B, and also the condition.
Okay. Let me amend my prior motion, 50.
If I might just suggest, our city attorney is giving us excellent advice based on some developments in state law in the last year, so that I think we now have affirmative duty, arguably, to state when we're looking at special use permit type motions and land use motions, that we state the specific criteria in the motion in terms of why we feel the motion should be passed or not passed based on those specific criteria in the special use permit analysis, which staff has included in the report. So I think that's why we're going through this, and I'm not trying to patronize or anything, but I'm trying to protect us from a fiduciary standpoint in the future.
And so it's not in our packet, the wording that you're saying.
It was in my packet, but
Okay.
I don't know. I don't use those computer things, so.
So, is there something that she can fully read,
That's-
or yes?
She's reading it right
Thank
now.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so including, does meet this, okay, I just want one last clarifying thing. To meet 50-98, 94. I include my rationale, or do I have to state 50-98? Or 94, sorry.
It partly already includes that, and I
Okay.
think you're satisfactory as long as you mention that section of the zoning ordinance, which is the section on special use permits.
Okay,
So-
and then including the zoning ordinance 50-94, but it does meet all the standards of review identified in those sections as well.
Yes.
And then, let me move forward with the conditions. All right. Approval is in accordance with the plans provided by the applicant and per testimony before City Council, subject to revisions as required. The maximum indoor occupancy of the space shall be limited to 240 in accordance with local building and fire code requirements. All required permits shall be obtained from the city's Department of Planning, Building, and Development for all interior renovations as well as exterior signs. The project shall be designed and developed in accordance with all applicable state and local statutes, codes, and regulations. This approval shall take effect upon the recording of the fully executed memorandum of the Ingham County Register of Deeds. Persons under 21 years of age shall not be permitted to enter the premises after 11 p.m. unless accompanied by a parent or legal guardian. The applicant or applicable restaurant proprietor, as the case may be, shall obtain and maintain the required state liquor license and city entertainment permit if applicable. The applicant or applicable restaurant proprietor, as the case may be, shall work with the police department to develop and implement the effective security plan and provide for appropriate staff training. Number 9, the restaurant shall be designed, operated, and maintained at all times consistent with responsible business practices and so that no excessive demand shall be placed upon public safety services nor any excessive risk of harm to the public health, safety, and sanitation, interference with vehicular or, I can't say that word.
It's all right, we see it.
Or pedestrian traffic, or parking, or the continuance and maintenance of any unlawful conduct, public nuisance, or disorderly conduct, either within the establishment or on or about the adjacent businesses and public streets, alleys, parks, parking facilities, or other areas open to the public. The proprietor shall make reasonable effort to report to authorities any unlawful conduct that is observed from the premises. And number 10, the business selling alcoholic beverages shall comply with the requirements and performance standards of a businesses selling alcoholic beverages as set forth in sections 50-94 of Chapter 50 of the City Code and Chapter 18 of the City Charter at all times.
Second by Watson.
Please, yes.
Okay, now, Mr. Meadows, you had a motion to amend?
I do. To add a condition 11, I believe, which would read, the applicant shall provide a seating plan for 240 patrons, which adds 28 additional seats to the current approved plan to accommodate the additional 28 patrons requested by the applicant prior to the special use permit to be filed with the Ingham County Register of Deeds, and which shall be considered part of these conditions.
Okay, is there a second for the amendment? Seeing none, the motion fails. We return to the main motion. Any further discussion on the main motion?
Well, I'll be voting against the main motion. My reason for voting against the original motion was so that I had an opportunity to at least provide the landmark with the opportunity to provide appropriate seating for its patrons. In the absence of that, I'm going to have to vote against this.
Ms. Watson?
Thanks. I just wanted to say I didn't vote in favor of the additional 28 because I was imagining that that might mess up the standing room or maybe people tripping over chairs, or like I was trying to imagine, well, how are they going to add properly 28 seating places when they hadn't planned on that? So that's why I didn't vote in favor of it.
Okay, so we're now voting on this motion that was made by the Mayor Pro Tem, and for purposes of the record, I want to incorporate, as if fully set forth herein, all of the reasons why I supported my motion to deny this, and those will be my same reasons for also voting against this particular motion. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Altman,
No.
Councilmember Meadows,
No.
Councilmember Watson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Singh,
Yes.
Mayor Brookover.
No. Motion fails. Thank you. Thanks for coming, man.
Point of procedure, could I ask the city attorney to weigh in on the situation we're in now, where we had a motion to deny that failed and a motion to approve that failed?
Yes, if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
At this point, you don't have a affirmative decision that has approved or denied this application. So I'm afraid to say that a decision has not yet been made. So unless council wants to, there are options to postpone this item to a future meeting, ask for additional information, or make further motions to see if you can work out a resolution of this item tonight.
All right, I'll move to table this item.
Second.
Until the next regular meeting?
No, I'm tabling it. I'm taking it off any consideration until a motion is made to remove it from the table in the future at some point.
Could I ask the city attorney to weigh in on whether that's appropriate?
Yep. Have I been asked to comment on that?
You have been asked to comment.
Okay, I couldn't hear. I apologize. Yeah, a tabling without a date for it to return could potentially be interpreted as this item goes away forever and is denied. And for a land use decision like this, I think the applicant has a right to have a decision made by city council at some point and know when it's coming back as a due process matter and land use right. So I would counsel city council here to not table it indefinitely, to include a date for it to come back. And if possible, what sort of information you might look to see upon its return as part of that motion.
What is the alternative? If there's not a tabling and we aren't deferring it, what would be the appropriate motion to end it?
It's a great question. There could be alternative conditions that are suggested that might bring your one council member apart in both directions. There might be some changes to some of the wording in some of the motions, or minds could change with some further deliberation amongst yourselves on another motion to approve or deny. So you could take action on the item that's presently before you. Another motion is what I'm saying, is the other option.
Well, I wanted to suggest that, is the applicant still here, first of all?
Yes.
Okay. Can we table it until the second meeting in September to give the applicant an opportunity to consider the possibility of the 28 seats or meet in the middle, and for the applicant to engage with the people that will be returning and filling the land shark with how their experience is.
Yeah, I think that's a motion to defer to the second business meeting
Okay, yeah.
in September.
Yeah, yes, thank you.
I
That's all.
second that motion.
I third that motion. All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jopik, for your advice. Thanks, staff. Item 6.4, consideration of a change order with Fishbeck for the fiscal year 2025 fiscal year 2027? Is that correct? 2025 to 2027?
It's a 3-year contract.
Oh, okay. So fiscal years 2025 through fiscal year 2027. As-needed engineering services contract in an amount of $100,000 and authorize the city manager to sign. Staff, please.
Good evening, staff. Ron Lacoste, Director of Public Works, and I have with me Stephen Clayton, the Engineering Administrator. So on December 3rd, City Council approved a contract, a 3-year contract with Fishbeck for as-needed engineering services for $50,000. Since 2017, the city has used professional consulting engineers to supplement our efforts to fill in gaps in internal capabilities and when the workload exceeds our capabilities. Since the original contract with Fishbeck was approved, staff has elected to utilize their services to provide expert-level traffic analysis for various traffic calming and safety requests that have been made by residents. As everybody's aware, there's been a lot of requests that kind of snowballed on the department, and we recognized with our small engineering staff that we were overwhelmed pretty quickly. So we were able to utilize this contract, which is one of the reasons we have these as-needed contracts. Within the civil engineering field, Fishbeck has several engineers that have obtained a professional traffic operations engineering certification, which just means they specialize in this type of engineering. Within civil engineering, there's structural, there's drainage, there's road design, traffic engineers, and they have several with this certification that help us navigate these requests more thoroughly and more quickly. So due to the volume of requests that have already been addressed, those outstanding, and the anticipation of more to come, we're anticipating the $50,000 not being adequate to serve those efforts. So the traffic calming evaluations are budgeted, and primarily for these in the local street funds. There will be some on major streets as well, depending on what requests come in. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I move we approve a change order with Fishbeck for the fiscal years 2025 through fiscal year 2027, as-needed engineering services contract in an amount of $100,000 and authorize the city manager to sign it.
Second.
Okay, seconded by the tie between Altman and Meadows. I call it in favor of Meadows this time. Is there any further discussion?
I have a brief comment, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I gather that part of this change reflects the amount of money we're spending to address concerns from the community about traffic enforcement. Is that safe to say?
Correct. There's several requests, and they're time-consuming to evaluate.
Yeah, so this is worth pointing out because it means on the one hand, we are spending money to try to solve these problems, okay, which is important. And on the other hand, we have to have money to solve these problems. Okay, so I just want to put that on the record to make clear that we can't solve these problems without paying for the solutions. So thank you for all your work in general and also your coordination with Fishbeck, and also thanks to Fishbeck for the work that they're doing.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Next item is a first read of ordinance number 1553 to amend Police Oversight Commission. I move that we approve the first reading of ordinance number 1553 and refer it to the City Council's September 9th, 2025 regular session for second reading and possible adoption. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that, but I do have a question for Elaine. When is the special meeting of the commission? It hasn't been scheduled yet? Is that a sufficient amount of time, do you think, for the special meeting to take place?
The hope is to schedule the special meeting the week of August 25th, but I don't know the dates, I'm assuming that it
Our second meeting in September is what date? Second business meeting.
Robert, do you have that?
I believe it's the 23rd.
Okay, I therefore change the motion to make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 1553 and refer it to the City Council's September 23rd, 2025 regular meeting or the second regular meeting in September, whichever applies, for second reading and possible adoption.
I agree with that.
Friendly amendment, or
Yep.
friendly, okay.
Yep.
Moved and seconded. Discussion on simply the first reading at this point?
Yeah, discussion.
Sure.
Just as someone pointed out, the amount of time a commission works on something, I also want to uplift the amount of time that it took to create this East Lansing Independent Police Oversight Commission, and along with the study committee that also gave great input and included our former chief at that time. So there was police and community representation. And so it feels like maybe disingenuous that we're just having this first reading and going on to the second reading, because the very people that it impacts, which is this commission that has, by the way, we capped the amount of time that we meet each month because they could meet into close to midnight. But we meet 6 to 9, and there are other committees that meet on the side as well. So just, again, I hope that there's deep regard for what our East Lansing Independent Police Oversight Commission understands about their task, have also, as someone pointed out, attended the NACOL conferences, which is a national conference, understands best practices, and so again, not having their input right now feels disingenuous. And so the next thing I want to ask, can we provide citations for history and currently for people to follow the process of where the changes came from? And I guess that's a question for the city attorney. Can we give, for historical reference, when someone's looking back on this and wondering how we landed where we did, can we give the citations that have been given to some, or can we have citations so that people can follow the path? This green is here because the judge said this, or what the references are, so that, like I said, they understand. Everyone understands.
If I may, Mr. Mayor?
Please.
Yes, thank you. As I think council is aware, I haven't been involved in the process, being the newer city attorney here. But what I would like to do, perhaps, if council would like, is talk to the attorneys who have worked on this to see if a document could be prepared to provide that sort of cross-reference to assist in this that would not necessarily involve their legal opinions, but at least provide the cross-references. Something like that, I can certainly have that discussion with them if council would like.
Okay, and since it is the first draft is from a labor attorney, can you help me understand the harm of them giving their legal opinions on why they're suggesting the changes the way that they are?
I can provide my thoughts on that. The labor attorney might have her own thoughts on that, seeing as she's the attorney representing the city in these matters. Generally speaking, providing legal opinions, this is a collective bargaining matter where there are two sides on that. Obviously, at the table of collective bargaining, there's the labor side and the management side. And there are sometimes disagreements and sometimes arbitration, as you well know, and courts can make decisions, and some aspects of legal opinions can be on subjects that could, if made public, could provide the other side in those bargaining discussions an upper hand, so to speak. and one way or the other. That could happen on both sides, I'm sure. Each side gets their own legal counsel. That's generally the reason for the attorney-client privilege, is to protect the interests. And in some ways, expanding out with any legal communication that provides legal advice in any matter, that could apply and result in litigation and put taxpayer funds at risk and so forth.
Thank you. And as to avoid, having too much of a back and forth with you, I just want to mention that the collective bargaining is over. And so I know that, like you said, you're new to what's happening, but the collective bargaining agreement has been signed. So, and the judge issued their orders, and we're supposed to be making some changes. But then the question is the perception that the author of the new changes seems to have gone above and beyond. And so we have to talk about why that happened and help the very commission that it impacts understand that, and that would be through the legal attorney. But I'm just putting that out there to everybody. And it's interesting that you mentioned each side, because it remains unclear whose side, for clarification, and the work that the commission is doing is in support of East Lansing Independent Police Oversight Commission. And so it's interesting to talk about each side, and like I said, have this thing that's been going on for a long time without their inclusion, and now we're at a first reading that we're going to go on with, and we've not heard from our very commission that it impacts. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion with regard to the motion?
Just a couple of comments. I just want to make it clear that the council hasn't drafted these changes, and we have not taken the time at this point in time to comment on them. There are documents that are in the, that are contained in the agenda that I think are critical documents for the commission to review in their analysis of this, and I think you've probably already begun doing that. But the comments of the commission are very important, and the council's deliberation on this and consideration of the language. There is probably a dispute as to whether some of this language actually reflects the ruling that was made on the unfair labor practice decision that the city brought against the union. And I just urge you to, at this special meeting in particular, I would hope that our city attorney and the labor attorney are present at that meeting to answer any questions that the commission might have with regard to this.
Okay, can we have a roll call vote on the motion, please?
Mayor, could you restate the motion? The motion is to introduce and refer
Just to the 23rd, I think.
the 23rd.
Yep.
So that I don't vote on the wrong thing. That
Yeah,
was my question.
I think the motion is to defer it until the second business meeting of the city council, which is either on the 23rd or the second scheduled date. I don't have the calendar.
Whichever
in front of
one.
me.
It's
Whichever one
September 23rd.
applies is the one. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It is September 23rd.
Okay, so it's to the 23rd of September. Okay? All right, roll call vote on that, please.
Councilmember Altman.
Yes.
Councilmember Meadows.
Yes.
Councilmember Watson.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Singh.
Yes.
Mayor Brookover.
Yes. Okay, motion passes unanimously. We now move to the next matter on the agenda, which is consideration of resolution to establish a financial health review committee to solicit applications for membership on committee and appoint city council liaison. Staff, Mr. Bellman?
So this is a request of council. It was one of your goals to establish a financial health review team for best practices in pension and other post-employment benefits, financing current pension and retiree health care benefits, but also to look at overall general fund expenses and revenue opportunities, cost containment. So it's to establish that committee, 7-member.
Okay, questions for staff?
I have a question, if I may. Are we, we ran into some confusion with the Charter Review Committee about whether community members who are already serving on our standing boards and commissions were eligible to serve on this. And so I wanted to be clear about this. Are we, could the city manager elaborate on that issue?
So it's my understanding you have a policy on the books that indicates that you can only serve on one board or commission at the same time.
And that applies here?
And that would apply here.
I do have a question on that. I understood that to apply to the city's boards and commissions, not to assignments to other entities, other boards and commissions like the LDFA and other ones which are not city commissions or boards. It's something that we have been invited to appoint a member to. Am I correct on that?
Would it be appropriate to have the city manager, or excuse me, the city attorney review that and advise us at some other
Sure.
time? Since it's a policy of the city and subject to interpretation, I think. And that's not a necessary item for us tonight because we're not going to selection or anything.
Okay.
Okay?
May I
Go
also,
ahead,
I just
please.
want to also add, historically, when our Charter Review Commission was formed, we dismissed current commissioners from even applying. And so just historically, as far as some things that have happened when we're considering commissioners from the city.
Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I have a motion, Mayor. I move to approve a resolution to appoint a committee for purposes of making recommendations to City Council regarding the financial health of the city of East Lansing.
And that's it?
Second.
I do have an amendment.
Okay.
I take it's been moved and seconded, correct, at this point?
Yes, but did you see the suggested recommended motion? I just want to
I
make
did
sure you're
not.
not intentionally leaving something out.
I may be.
It's the
Oh.
end of Mr. Bellman's. I mean, I'm fine with it the way it is. I just,
Yes, I don't have a proposal for a council member as liaison. So let me withdraw my motion and contemplate a replacement.
might I suggest this? Well, I'll do it this way, okay?
Look,
I move we adopt a resolution. Well, the problem is we have a resolution, so I withdraw that, so.
I'll just indicate I would like to be the liaison, if at all possible. So if that's the name that's missing, I'm happy to insert mine. I was liaison to the last one, and I feel that I can handle this one as well.
I'm in support.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
I'd like to move that we adopt the resolution to appoint a committee for purposes of making recommendations to City Council regarding the financial health of the city of East Lansing. Appoint Councilmember Mark Meadows as City Council Liaison and amend the fiscal year 2026 general fund budget by appropriating $5,000 of fund balance for use by the Financial Health Review Committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Watson, seconded by Meadows. Any further discussion? I'm going to vote against this, not because I care one whit about who the council member is, but because when I go back and review the 2016 recommendations, it occurs to me that the actual recommendations of that particular study group are still applicable. And it's just my personal experience that we do these things and then the reports stand and sort of don't get incorporated, and so I just think it's another unnecessary sort of back to the future kind of thing where I think we can undertake these kinds of things via the city manager and with the assistance of people in the community who don't have to be a formal committee or anything. So that's my reason for voting against it. Any further discussion on the motion?
I have an amendment. Actually, I have two amendments. On page 2 of the resolution, further needs to be spelled correctly in the second, be it further resolved from the bottom. But more substantively, I would like to amend the second whereas on page 1 of the resolution to read as follows. Whereas the city continues to experience financial constraints on our primary sources of revenue because of the Headley Amendment adopted in 1978, Proposal A, a property tax cap adopted in 1993, general inflation, and the presence of a large non-taxable nonprofit organization within the city's borders.
Is that it?
That's my amendment.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion to amend? Roll call vote on the motion to amend, please.
Councilmember Altman,
Yes.
Councilmember Meadows,
Yes.
Councilmember Watson,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Singh,
Yes.
Mayor Brookover.
No. All right, so the motion to amend passed. We return to the main motion as now amended. Any further discussion with regard to the main motion as amended?
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Tie in favor of Mayor Pro Tem this time, okay?
We'll get you a coin next meeting. So I just want to add that, Mayor, you made some really important points in terms of the prior report back in 2016. But I do want to note just, I think as we organize the work of the financial health team, I hope they can reflect on that and easily get to an outcome. I do think it's important to revisit, because 2016 was 8 years ago, actually 9 potentially. So at any rate, I will be supporting the motion that is before us. And the last thing I would say, I'm making sure I'm hearing this as well, that while Councilman Meadows has just a reservoir of energy and expertise and all the assignments he has, or volunteer roles, that I hope many of the folks up on this dais have time to engage with that fiscal health team.
Okay. Ms. Watson, you had a comment?
I wanted to say it's been percolating, I remember, during some people's, during candidacy discussions about a financial health review team. And I think for transparency too, it'll be nice. I'll be voting in favor because I think it'll be nice for the public to be able to be a part of those conversations and see where we land.
Okay. Mr. Bellman, I just have a question for you. How are you going to staff this?
I'll be working with the chief financial officer on the appropriate staffing of this committee.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Altman,
Yes.
Councilmember Meadows,
Yes.
Councilmember Watson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Singh,
Yes.
Mayor Brookover.
No. Okay, we then move on to, I believe, consideration of ordinance 1546, an amendment to section 50-94 of the zoning ordinance, which would change the process for developers seeking to transfer credits in association with a diverse housing requirement for certain developments in downtown East Lansing. Staff, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Landon Bartley, Principal Planner. There's currently a diverse housing requirement. I'll summarize very briefly. In downtown East Lansing, this applies in the DDA district west of Collingwood Drive, in which case new multifamily projects are required that 25% of the units must be affordable, owner-occupied, 55 plus, or some mix therein. If a project exceeds that 25% requirement, the credits for each unit in excess of the requirement may be transferred to another project in the same area to help that project meet the requirement. Ordinance 1546 is proposed to restrict a transfer from taking place from projects that are receiving local public financial incentives. This was introduced and referred to the Planning Commission in March 13th. Planning Commission held a public hearing in April, received no comments, had additional discussion in May, and then voted in May to recommend approval 5-1. The DDA met on June 5th and voted 6-0 with 2 abstentions, recommending denial. The council here City Council held a public hearing for this on June 17th and didn't receive comments for or against the specific ordinance, but did receive comments suggesting other changes to the diverse housing requirement, which has spurred significant discussion at the Planning Commission, which will continue tomorrow. So but the request and the ordinance, I guess, is limited only to restrict the transfer of the excess credits from projects that are receiving local public financial incentives. I'd love to answer any questions.
Questions for staff? Okay, discussion? I move we table this until the second business meeting in September.
How come?
Yeah, why?
Because if Planning Commission's going to look at other possible changes, then it seems to me we ought to take it all at the same time.
What other changes are they looking at?
There have been 4 different concepts that have been discussed by the Planning Commission. One would be to create some sort of a fee in lieu program where developers could pay a fee instead of meeting the requirement. One would be to change the areas of East Lansing from which the credits could be transferred, so it would be outside of downtown. One would include housing choice vouchers in the mix as one of the affordable housing options, and one would change the weighting of certain residential unit types, I believe specifically for the owner-occupied condo units, to essentially count as more than than the affordable or senior housing. Those have been the topic of discussion so far.
So none of those would conflict with this?
No.
Okay.
Mayor, did your motion receive a second?
I don't think so. So the motion dies. Do we have another motion?
Yeah, Mayor, I'll move approval of Ordinance 1546, an amendment to Section 50-94 of the zoning ordinance, which would change the process for developers seeking to transfer credits in association with the diverse housing requirement for certain developments in downtown East Lansing.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion on the motion.
If I could address my
Please.
my motion. So this is I'm fine having a larger policy conversation about how to get the housing types we want in the downtown and how to allocate credits and so forth. This ordinance fixes a loophole that an oversight essentially that we couldn't anticipate when we adopted the underlying ordinance some time ago. At the time, tax increment financing for housing and payments in lieu of taxes for certain types of housing were not a thing, so we didn't really anticipate that would be an issue. But they've since become an issue, and I don't want to, as I say, I'm fine having a larger policy conversation, but I don't want to get surprised by something in between where we have a development that comes forward that we didn't anticipate and wouldn't have wanted under the original ordinance. So I view this as a technical fix.
Okay, other discussion?
I would agree with that. This came about as a result of the proposed workforce housing that was going to go in the Bailey lot. It became clear that there was a plan to sell the credits because it was 100% low to moderate income housing. Sell the credits to a developer. That's not something we anticipated when we passed this particular ordinance originally. And this does fill a little loophole. It only applies if the project is receiving public assistance. In other words, if we have tax increment financing or a PILT, something like that, you can't transfer the credits. But it provides an incentive to not use public financing as well, because then the developer can still transfer those credits.
Okay, other discussion? I'm going to vote against this motion. I have reluctantly come to the conclusion on this topic, like I have previously come to the conclusion on the so-called assessments against downtown businesses for police enforcement, et cetera, that this particular concept has outlived its usefulness and in fact just doesn't work. And so I really, again, reluctantly have come to the conclusion we should just let the market determine what the market's going to determine in terms of downtown. And so I'm just no longer in that position to support this kind of stuff because I think it's an anachronism now. So that's my reason for voting against this. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Altman.
Yes.
Councilmember Meadows.
Yes.
Councilmember Watson.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Singh.
Yes.
Mayor Brookover.
No. Okay, we then move ahead to the next. Thank you, Lyndon. Next, we move ahead to Mr. Bellman and approving a change order with Tetra Tech for the operational facilities and treatment optimization improvements at the WRRF in an amount of $239,744, and authorize the city manager to sign. In addition, approve other change orders with regard to the same general myriad of projects, and authorizing the city manager to sign. Mr. Lacasse.
Good evening, Council. Ron Lacoste, Director of Public Works. This item has been in front of you in some form for several times over the last year. On October 15th, Council approved several contracts related to this project, a couple engineering contracts, legal counsel, bond counsel contracts. Since that date, the final design of both projects was completed. The projects were bid, and on June 17th, Council authorized the tentative award of the two construction contracts. The EGLE applications for the CWSRF loan have been submitted and tentatively approved, and the city has moved forward with the issuance of a $4.5 million general obligation limited tax bond to fund the ineligible portions of the project. The CWSRF loan includes a line item for contingencies in the amount of $2,541,188, and likewise the contingency amount has been provided in the general obligation limited tax bond of $260,000, which represents about 6% of the project cost. To be able to react in a timely manner to changes during construction, we ask the City Council authorize the city manager to approve expenditures up to the limits of the contingency funds allotted under the CWSRF loan and the GOLT bond issue. In addition, the scope of the final project costs, increase amounts of the SRF loan, and the decision to issue a GOLT bond result in the need for several contract changes. Increase in Tetra Tech's contract of $239,000. And that is for the W2 project, which is the work to take place at the Water Resource Recovery Facility. $49,000 of that was due to some engineering evaluations we asked them to undertake. And $190,000 of that is due to them missing this on the change order you approved back in October. If you remember, the project was originally slated for 2023. It got pushed to 2025, and there were cost increases. So that's the bulk of that increase. An increase of $2,375 in Dickinson Wright's October contract due to the increase in the size of the CWSRF loan, an increase of $2,019 in MFCI's contract for the same reason, and then the approval of a contract with Dickinson Wright of $20,750 for the issuance of the $4.5 million GOLT bond, and approval of a contract with MFCI in the amount of $22,138 for the issuance of the same bond. And those are all under a contract that was approved by council back in 2022 when those services were put out for RFP. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? I move that the city council approve and authorize the city manager to sign RCA number 2 with Tetra Tech in the amount of $239,744. Number 2, the city manager be authorized to sign the updated contract with Dickinson Wright in the amount of $67,595. Number 3, that the city manager be authorized to sign the updated contract with MFCI LLC in the amount of $57,456. Item number 4, that the city manager be authorized to sign the proposed contract with Dickinson Wright for legal services as bond counsel for issuance of the $4,500,000 GOLT bond in the amount of $20,750. That the city manager be authorized to sign the proposed contract with MFCI LLC for financial advisor services for the issuance of the $4,500,000 GOLT bond in the amount of $22,138. And finally, number 6, authorize the city manager to approve expenditures up to the limits of contingency funds allotted under the CWSRF loan and the GOLT bond issue.
Second.
Second from Altman. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously, with the exception of Ms. Watson, who was momentarily absent.
Okay, I
did-
would like to say yes. I stayed in here, and I just want to say it's not healthy and for the human body to sit for over 3 hours. So I did try to stay here.
I can hardly disagree. Okay, final item, I think, on the agenda is a consideration of establishing an al fresco social district PA 124 2020. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Marcia Gaborowski, DDA Director with the East Lansing DDA. At the June 10th City Council discussion-only meeting, staff presented a proposed social district maintenance and operations plan, as well as a proposed boundary map, seeking feedback to establish a social district, which again enables a community to establish boundaries for outdoor designated alcohol consumption areas. Feedback from that meeting was to request input from other communities, review call log data due to concerns of alcohol consumption allowed under previous ordinances post-COVID. Given the input, there is a proposed updated maintenance and operations plan that was attached that addresses concerns related to public safety enforcement within the social district, as well as concern over misuse of the district cups. Again, it would be stated that the plan can be amended at any time, or content can be amended. So the intent is, if there is any questions, or the plan can be, it is at council's discretion. Post-COVID enforcement concerns. When reviewing information, council had, there were concerns related to, is there a shift in the environment? Is there a shift in who is visiting downtown and at certain points in time? Upon review and considering that the intent of creating a social district is to help enable ongoing events such as music night, game night during Albert al fresco events, and knowing that most of those events and live music does conclude at 8 p.m., it does make sense to limit the hours of the social district from 10 p.m. to 8 p.m., and that request or that amendment had been made. I will note that Thursday night game nights does end at 9 p.m. Again, one of those areas where council can make that determination, or the community can make that determination. The boundaries have also been scaled back. It previously did include the Riviera Cafe, which did extend a portion outside of what we see as the Albert Alfresco event district. This scale back would help minimize concerns of enforcement, as well as understanding that the district does not have to be created within a particular road closure. So the district does have that ability to be amended. The maintenance and operations plan does include additional stickers through research. Social districts are part of legislation in many other states, and looking at the tougher enforcement that they have with identifying the cups and ensuring that you're not serving minors and that the cups cannot be reused. Additional stickers are proposed that would require the establishment to write their name, so we know where the cups are coming from, as well as the date and time of when that drink has been served. There had been questions regarding the fact that the district does border restaurants that do have outdoor dining, where alcohol can be served and enjoyed on their establishment within the public right-of-way and can be served. The intent of the social district is to enable the turnover and patrons the ability to get a beverage from the establishment and then have the ability to walk outside and allow tables to be turned over for more dining, opportunity for more sales, as well as beverage consumption. So these were some of the amendments made. I will say that one omission in the previous discussion back in June was Councilman Altman, you did request a letter confirming that there is no general liability against the city, as well as a letter of enforcement operations or process of enforcement, and staff did not work with new legal counsel to obtain those, so that is in the process of being obtained.
With this in mind, I'd recommend referring this to the September 23rd, 2025 meeting so that additional information can be provided.
Did you say December 23rd?
No, September 20, yes.
I'm just curious, why would we not just refer it to the first September meeting?
Because I want to make sure City Attorney Jopik has plenty of time.
Oh,
to,
I think he has plenty of, what do you
well,
say,
he has
Mr.
plenty of
Jopik?
work. I don't know about plenty of time.
I will
No,
do
that's
whatever
fine
council
if you
would
need-
like.
If you need more time. I'm just looking ahead to that meeting now, so. Dr.
So
Altman.
I have some questions about this. So I appreciate the changes in this. I was prepared to move ahead, but I had two questions. So I'm just going to proceed with those
Absolutely.
questions. So one is for the city manager. So the city manager really has the bird's eye view here. There's coordination with the DDA and also police and maybe other departments, CPW. And my question for the city manager is, do you recommend this?
Well, I recommend the concept. I think some of the feedback we received today on the Responsible Hospitality Council is that they'd like to see it for all businesses downtown to benefit from this and not the limited social district that is currently proposed. But it goes back to, again, the risk and elements of risk that the city or the establishment may be assuming under this program that I think needs to be addressed.
Well, so that was my second question for the city attorney is, are you prepared at this point to comment in a dispositive way on this issue of risk, or do you need more time to develop an opinion?
No, I've begun the process of looking at that. Excuse me, when I saw this on the agenda, the question of potential liability risks did cross my mind, and I would appreciate the opportunity to evaluate a little bit further instead of over a very concentrated period of time between seeing this on the agenda and today. So if you would like it back, I appreciate city manager's suggestion of second meeting in September, but if you want it sooner, I will do what is necessary on my part to get this back sooner if you'd like it.
I move we table this until the first regular meeting in September.
First regular meeting in September?
Yes.
It's fine with me.
Is there a second?
I'll second that. And I think you meant deferral, yeah.
I'm sorry, I did. Thank you.
May I ask some questions?
Yeah, is there any discussion on a motion to defer?
Only
yeah,
on
I have
the
some discussion.
timing. You can discuss the timing and if there's any other instruction to be given in connection with it.
Okay, go ahead.
Are you talking to me?
I'm talking to Dana.
Did I hear you, so the time frame is 12 to 8, is that correct?
Correct, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
And it's, it would begin potentially in May?
That is correct.
All right, and then go through August, potentially?
Through the,
First Saturday?
yes.
All right, thank you, that answers my question.
I guess I'm not clear on why we wouldn't go to the 23rd since that was requested, because this won't take effect until next year anyway, so we have plenty of time to take a look at it. But I do have a couple of questions. One, the supporting documentation here in terms of calls downtown and things like that ends in 2023. Is there any particular reason we don't have, 2022, 2023 and 2024 information that we can take a look at also?
That was the request post-COVID, and it was specifically requested around that period of time. So if there is that opportunity to defer it to the 23rd, that does give staff the ability to request call data to look through 2024.
Okay, I'm inclined to go with 2020, the 23rd of September, so that you have an opportunity to have more time to provide
Is that
this
a friendly
additional
amendment?
information.
Is that
would
a
be
friendly amendment? I accept the friendly amendment.
As do I.
Okay, to the
And
23rd now.
Then just one comment, because I want a little more meat on the bones of making this pitch. You know, Ann Arbor has successfully implemented this, I believe. And, but their population between the ages of 18 and 24 is only 22% of their population. And they have a substantially different downtown area that it applies to in terms of retail and restaurants and
Correct.
The attraction there. We have 40% of our population between the ages of 18 and 24. That's a significantly different thing. So I want to make sure that if we do this, that we can control it in the best possible way. And looking at those other statistics that have been provided to us, it's a challenge. So I'm just looking forward to further information as we go forward on this. So thank you. I'm really glad you're in your position, by the way. Thanks.
May I make one more comment?
Sure.
I noticed, I don't know if it was attached or not, but I noticed that Laura has an updated list of places that do have the social districts. And it might just be helpful for council to see, like it's what the counties are, what the cities are and stuff.
Yeah, that is on the Michigan, the MLCC website of all communities and counties with social districts.
Anything else? All those in favor of the motion to defer to the second meeting in September, the date of which I've now forgotten?
September 23rd.
The 23rd. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes. I think we're at the end of the agenda. Does
Move to
anybody have a
adjourn.
motion?
Yes.
Move to adjourn from Altman?
Yep.
Second by Meadows?
Yep.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Thanks, everybody, for your time and effort.